Thanks for joining.
Oh, thanks for
No,
having me.
it was a good time over here last time. We had to do Mark Monger, Return of Mark Monger,
The Revenge
of Mark Monger, and we're live. Dun dun dun.
Welcome to March 14th,
Pi Day.
Pi Day,
Pi Day.
3.14, sponsored by Pecan Harvest of the West.
There we go.
There we go. Welcome
So-
to the Messiah Valley in our pecan farm.
That's how they,
There we go. I used to know pi up to like 6 digits. That was
Just-
about all I had.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like 3.145 and that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not that smart no more.
Yeah.
Once the hip went out and I got the dent in the back of the head and all that, it just started seeping out. Well, I'm glad you guys are back. Thank you. Can I interest you guys in some? Oh, you're breaking up the scotch. Nice. So-
I just want to discuss.
We also like to thank our sponsors, Sia Whiskey,
Sia.
See ya.
McAllen.
McAllen.
Yeah, I'm going tequila. I'm going Maestro, Doble, Diamante.
Although they
Yeah, I need to get the
sound
thing-
deadener.
The sound down.
Yeah,
So that's
sorry.
right here.
We do like to. I mean, I'm sure you want to make a disclaimer that they do not acknowledge our podcast, but yet we thank them for.
I know we thank
participating.
for participating. So I don't know if
Not-
you guys noticed, but I added a couple of new things. But one thing that I added new was Penn Company,
there you
3rd
go.
Battalion, 1957, January 16th. Marine Corps. That's the
Korea.
yeah.
And
That's-
they were, that's Camp Pennington?
This is my father right here, 18 years old,
Oh,
you
before he
kidding
shipped
me?
out to Korea.
Wow.
1957. Dude.
1957. Very fitting because my helmet is a Marine helmet.
And then the
Yeah.
Austro-Prussian helmet on the left.
Well, yeah. With on top of Caesar's head, that's kind of fitting too.
Yeah.
So what? So your dad was in
The
Korea.
Korean War. Okay, I've got to tell a story
Okay, so you know which he came in
with MacArthur.
in the Incheon province on the upper northwest to pinch off the north coming down
That's
and, then,
right.
and moved everybody back up.
Get everybody back up. Hey, cheers.
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 Salud.
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 So, my father and my grandmother, I don't know what they were thinking. This is the 50s. Like, don't know what they were thinking. You know what I mean? This is like the nuclear family. My father was born in 35 and then coming out of the Great Depression. My grandparents lived in the Great Depression. So, he was a little kid during World War II. He used to watch the B-17s taking off at Biggs Air Force Base in El Paso. He even told me once he saw a B-17 crash into the Franklin Mountains.
It's still there.
It's still there.
You
That's right.
saw that?
He saw that. Little big news.
Yeah.
We should go hiking up there.
Yeah, you know, there's hiking trails up there. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool. So, the Korean conflict was kicking off. Things were heating up then, and so it was. There was already talk about America going to war in Korea, and so my father gets this idea with my grandmother. It's like, well, they're gonna call. It's still the draft, but they're gonna call up all the army to go back to war. And so they're thinking like, well, how do you avoid going to war and joining the army to go to the war?
You enrolled beforehand.
But he went in the Marines.
He joined the Marines knowing the army was going to go to war. So my grandmother at 17 signed for my father to join the Marines.
What?
Yes. My dad told me a little bit about it, but when I used to take care of my grandfather or after he had a stroke, my grandmother would tell me all these stories.
Well, at the time, were the Marines part of the Navy back then?
The
When did the
Marines
break
were
off to the...
Marines. Marines were the Marines
Okay.
in the World War II.
Okay.
Yeah. So he joined the Marines not to go to Korea. And then
Wait.
right, so he goes to boot camp and all that. And I mean, my dad's like I always thought my dad was a big man, skinny, short guy.
So
See, I saw the pictures, right? Skinny, short guy.
Everybody was. That was before Frito chips and
all that
ice
stuff.
cream and Oreos
Yeah.
and everything else.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Well, then he grew up during the Depression, so he grew, or not during the Depression, during World War II. So food was
Rationing.
rationing. Yeah.
Yeah, everything, right?
Yeah.
So he's in the Marines now. Goes to boot camp, Camp Hamilton, and the Marines get called up, and they put him on
They're the
trans.
first ones to go in. What are they thinking?
I know this. And he's told me all about that. So they put him on battleships and transports, and he's telling me about how huge the battleships he was on when they were transporting across the Pacific. And they go to Japan, get ready for the invasion in Incheon. It's in Incheon, I believe, right?
On the northwest.
And doing the beach invasion in Korea.
Wow.
And they were under fire. I mean, not stupid fire like Tarawa or something in the World War II, but they were under fire. And he's saying you hit the beach and you hit the sand. And he says, you know, he's always telling me this, that the thing that Normandy needed, that the Marines did well, were the beach masters. And he says the beach master standing straight up, holding his 45 in his hand, and the beach master says, you move it. He says, you move. Yeah.
Hey, why didn't we, I mean, after coming out, after bombing Japan with nuclear weapons, why didn't the US bomb Korea during
Well,
that conflict?
so Korea was divided up with the Russians and with us, right? And in the north.
No, the Chinese.
The
Russians.
Well, the
Chinese,
Russians.
the Chinese came in to support
It was
North
the Chinese,
Korea.
the communist Chinese, but the communist Chinese were.
Because
Communist.
Korea was completely invaded by Japan, and then Manchuria also.
That was earlier though.
But they was completely invaded until they were finally pushed back. The Chinese stopped their civil war. The Russians were fighting them. Europe ended, so we started putting all of our efforts. We dropped the bomb. We were already on Okinawa. And so, yeah, so there was no need to nuke Korea during World War
No,
II.
afterwards, like when during '57.
Well-
Why did
well,
we send so many
Korea,
people to Korea?
Or MacArthur wanted to. MacArthur wanted to drop nukes on China. He had a plan to drop nukes on China, and him and Truman were butting heads. And
What would have been the aftermath of that?
I don't know.
Would that have just ended it?
A few million less Chinese in the world.
Yeah, but would other countries drop stuff on us?
Well, so here's the
the retaliation.
I was listening to this historian talk about the United States after World War II. He was saying at World War II, and we talked about the numbers of the size of the military. Like the United States military was the largest during World War II, largest it's ever been, even until up to now, right? And this historian is saying after World War II, the United States could have invaded any other country.
Sure.
We could have steamrolled any other country. We were the only nuclear power. Nobody had the military capacity to stop us if we wanted to. But what did we do? We rebuilt the whole world.
Sorry.
It's okay. it
Yeah,
happens.
we went back and
We rebuilt the whole world, the Marshall Plan, Europe, and all that. So that goes on. And then North Korea under what's his name, the grandfather of the
Mao?
current.
No, that was China.
that was China. The grandfather of the current dictator of Korea,
Kim.
Kim Il Sung. It was like Kim Sung or something like that from back then.
Okay.
So he wanted to take over all Korea, make it all communist. They pushed them back to the Pusan perimeter, and we were there with the Koreans. We held them off until we finally invaded in Incheon, and between having like a two-pronged, like say, pincher, we pushed them all the way back, and we pushed them all the way up to the north until
And the Chinese got
came in.
involved and pushed us back to the 42nd parallel.
Yeah. So I was kind of doing this whole thing with Corsair, the fighter plane, the Corsairs. Interesting about them. They had the bent.
Were those the big blue ones?
They had the
big
bent wing
navy
design.
ones?
because the prop was so
It
big.
was so big.
The prop was so big they had to bend the wings so the landing gear giving it a
Well,
lift.
So two
So the
things
prop,
about that.
yeah.
Ah.
So they needed short landing gear because they're doing carrier landings, and they, because the Corsair is so big, the body of it's so big that for a moment when they're landing, the pilots are blind; they can't see it.
Oh,
so
they have to tail
they
first.
land hard.
Yeah.
So they needed really strong
Landing gear.
landing gear. So short landing gear to be stronger, and then but you still needed the plane high enough for the propeller because the propeller was so big.
So they shaped the wings to
Like-
come up and then go down and then come back
That
up.
was a really
They
cool
call it
design.
like the gull wing or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can spot a Corsair. Just
Yeah. They were blue, navy.
yeah, all the navies
Right.
and stuff were blue.
Yeah, and they were 400 miles per hour,
Yeah.
just amazing. They had
Yeah.
rockets and bombs. They had a huge payload on them.
Yeah.
Just amazing planes. Really cool.
So why didn't we bomb Korea?
Truman fired MacArthur. If MacArthur had stayed, in charge of Korea of operations, he would have done it.
So somebody lower came in afterwards.
So
didn't
came in,
they?
yeah, so I don't remember who came in
Do
after.
you think we had another one?
Oh,
Maybe we-
yeah.
Well, maybe we only had two, and we gave the
Well,
impression that we had more, but we only had
35,
two.
40, maybe we only had a couple in the stock at the time. But
A
so
couple?
maybe we had our initial two. You know what?
I
And
think we only had two.
I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think we had plans of dropping more bombs on Japan.
I don't think we had
We didn't have any
anymore. But we gave the impression that we had more. That's why we went, okay,
You
now.
mess with us.
Yeah, then we'll do it again. And
Right.
no, we didn't have anything more. It was a bluff.
So, what would they have done for the last 50 years? I mean, nobody would have been able to stand up to us at the time. Nobody had the economy. Nobody had anything.
Right.
Here's a quote I just found.
How many people did we lose in Korea?
I have,
Some odd thousand.
here's a quote I just found on that. I have therefore relieved General MacArthur of commands and have designated Lieutenant General Matthew B. Ridgway as his successor.
Yeah. And then MacArthur gave his famous speech, and he says, "Just like a soldier, I will fade away." And he did quickly after that. Because they thought he had presidential aspirations and all that, but no, he faded from history after that. Yeah. So,
As an hour.
there's to the old man.
Wow, congratulations. That's a great photo.
My mother gave me that, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's something that I would certainly want as a heritage thing.
So my mother, she's a widow now, so she's doing the house the way she wants to now, and some of my dad's old pictures and all that have gone out the door. She's like, "You want this?" I'm like, "Good Lord, yes I do."
And see, my dad's 89.
89.
And so during Korea, when Korea was coming on, him and his buddy wanted to join the paratroopers together.
Really?
And his buddy rode a motorcycle. He crashed his motorcycle and broke his leg. And Dad's like, "Man, I don't really want to be cannon fodder." So he joined the Air Force. And he took all their aptitude tests, and he ended up finishing out Korea. He went in for 4 years. They made him stay in for 6. And he had his finger on the nuke out of Vandenberg, California.
No kidding.
So they made him stay in. But when he got out, he was able to do anything he wanted to
Oh,
do.
sure. Highly trained, highly motivated. Yeah. Insane. I've been watching that series, that World War II series, Master of the Skies or something like that.
Oh yeah, it seemed really, the first episodes
Yeah.
were kind of corny. Did
So-
it get better?
It did. So I've done a lot of research on that since then. So one of the characters that came in like on episode 2 or 3, a guy named Rosie something.
Okay.
He was in the 800th fighter wing, and I think that they have the 800th fighter wing, and then that specific group is the 100th bomber group. The 100th bomber group was considered like jinx because they lost so many bombers. They had like a Black Thursday, then they had like a Black Week, because they were doing daylight precision bombing, and after one bombing run, only one bomber came back out of like some
Jeez.
20 some odd planes.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and so
Against what?
the Germans against their I don't know,
During World War II?
World War II. So they weren't doing the fighters escorts all the way yet, because they could only go so far,
They would get low on fuel.
and they turned back. So they'd be on their own.
Until we started taking.
Well, what the game changer was the Spitfire,
The Spitfire, the 51, D-51.
or the P-51, had a little further range, and it had the external tanks that they could drop.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, and then they're faster than the what do they call them, the Messerschmitts or
Yeah,
something?
Messerschmitts, yeah.
So they were able to escort all the way there and all the way back. But before that, they figured the fighter bomb, the B-17s were so big and so well armed, if they flew together. No, and so the favorite tactic of the Messerschmitt was to come head on to the B-17. They would shoot them from the front, because not going from the side where you have two guns on
Right.
the side, one on
Tail.
bottom.
You had the tail and the belly gunner, and they had a lot of armament from the side, but from the front, all you had was that nose gunner.
And then the pilots. And so the pilots would get shot, but also why the B-17s exploded, right behind the pilots are the oxygen tanks. So they're shooting, not only are they shooting their machine guns,
Incendiary
but
rounds.
the cannons. They were shooting cannon rounds that would go through and explode. They'd hit the oxygen tanks, the whole B-17 would explode.
And it wasn't a pressurized cabin. Everybody, over
Used oxygen.
over 10,000 feet, they wore oxygen masks.
Right. Yeah, so it's nuts. So out of the hundreds, there's a guy named Rosie. He was the first guy in their group to make the 25 missions
To be able to retire.
to be able to retire. So when he hit 25, that's when the rule changed to that you had to finish 30 flights. So he made up his mind that he was going to stay in. He finished some like 52 flights. Nuts.
That is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, stuff.
And I think there was something like a 1 in 4 chance of you making
It
your
was
35
insane.
flights.
It was
yeah.
insane. Like the odds were.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it was like stacked
It
against
was stacked against you until they got the P-51s
And
in.
those bombing runs, how sharp were they? able-
You've
it
been
was
out
just
to
like
you've been
blanket
out to
bombing,
the you've been out to the bomb sites,
They were
right?
all over the place.
The Norton bomb site.
The Norton bomb
targets.
site, yeah.
So there's
Huge
there's
secrets.
targets all
Huge
over the
secrets.
desert.
I've seen them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I took audio out.
There's one up here on I'm going to Deming on.
There's several. There's
Yeah.
several.
And so the Norton bomb site was like our best secret, kept secret.
Yeah.
They used it for precision bombing.
So how accurate do you think
There's a lot of debate about how accurate they were. There's a lot of debate.
Yeah, they'd probably say that they were, but I don't think they were very accurate.
I mean, compared to now, right?
You know, the
GPS,
bomb site took over the flight controls,
right?
and it steered the plane left and right, but still.
Yeah,
So you had the 88 shooting up flat. You had the Messerschmitts, and so once the P-51s came into the picture, then they used the B-17s as a cannon fodder to draw the Messerschmitts out.
The,
So
yeah.
they would send huge B-17 groups up, knowing the Messerschmitts were coming for them.
Yeah.
So that way our P-71 fighter pilots could
Shoot 'em
engage them and shoot them down because they wanted air superiority before D-Day.
You know, look at, they're sitting there flying at 10,
Yeah.
12,000 feet.
That high?
Yeah. And when they were, and if they were dropping a bomb, any wind current is going to shift that. I don't care if they're straight over the target.
Right.
The odds of it actually hitting the target because of air currents or
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. But there's so many of them dropping. You're
Yeah.
talking hundreds of planes.
carpet bombs.
Yeah.
So we were going after huge industrial complex,
Yeah.
that were all grouped together, hoping we would destroy the complex, but all the residential
Around
churches,
all the
schools all
workers.
around, chances are, and they're each bomb's like a 500-pound bomb.
Yeah, the collateral damage was just
Huge.
insane.
Yeah, so I mean, but the strategy of the war was, you know what, we have to eliminate this threat. Nazi, you had to root it out. It was kind of like Sherman's March to the Sea. What did Sherman say? We've got to annihilate them, destroy their.
Isn't that what's going on with Israel and Gaza right now? They're just
Okay, so you bring that up, and
pushing everybody.
so I went down a couple of rabbit holes this past couple of weeks.
Okay.
So we know
On air or research?
research.
Research.
Okay, so let's talk about Israel. This is kind of interesting. So we know, like the Hamas, they did all this. They did these three-pronged attacked the Israelis by land, sea, and air. And overcame
Hamas.
the defenses. Hamas.
Yeah.
And then Israel, Israel, like classic Israel, come, boom, let's hit them hard,
Right.
right? And they're in there hitting hard, and people always think, it's political, it's this, it's that, whatever. They have all these reasons. Well, I went down this rabbit hole that was kind of unknown of, but then I heard about, as I started reading about it, Hamas kind of listed it as one of the reasons for attacking Israel. So are you
To create to
It's completely left.
push the tide against Israel?
Not
or
at
what?
all. Are you familiar with like the Bible prophecies
Right,
and
okay.
Revelations?
What-
Okay, so
You would be-
I'm Catholic. I mean, I don't know if you guys are
Yeah.
Catholic or Christian. So average person probably is not a big Bible reader, but we've all kind of heard of Revelations about the dragon, the horseman, and all that stuff. So there's been a lot of debate. Are we in what they call the end of days?
Okay.
And I have to really give props to this podcast I've been following. It's called Ninja or Butterflies, and I caught one of their podcasts, kind of interesting, and they talk about a lot of this stuff amongst all the other random things they talk about, and so I started reading about this. So, do you know what kicked off the end of days conversation?
No.
In I want to say 48, the creation of Israel.
Okay.
So Revelations talks about when the Hebrews get, nation is reborn. That's like the first indicator that we're in the end of days. Revelations, And then people are looking for signs of the end of days. How do we know it? There's certain signs. One of them was the rebirth of the Hebrew nation, Israel.
Mm-hmm.
The second one has to do with the building of the third building of the temple. Right?
What are they referring to?
The temple, the temple, the Jewish synagogue, the great Jewish synagogue that was destroyed two times. The last time it was destroyed, the Romans just destroyed it, and then they dispersed the Israelis and the
Diaspora.
But that would have been after Revelation.
Well, no, probably after Revelations. But so like when the temple was destroyed by the Romans, and you know the Jewish people were spread out and their nation was gone. Then you have the Palestinians, and you have the next 1,000 years, whatever. But Revelations talks about the end of days, right? When the Messiah will come back and all that stuff. And for the Israelis, it's not when the second coming of the Messiah; it will be the first coming of the Messiah.
And isn't United Nations is one of those things that they're calling one
The
nation,
one world order.
One world order or something
Yeah.
like that. Okay, so as it relates to what happened in Israel,
Mhm.
so get this. So in the Old Testament, there's all these rules and regulations, so to speak, using our language, rules and regulations. Like you have to do this way, you have to do this way. Have you ever gone to like a Jewish synagogue during prayer when they have the scrolls up
Yes.
and they're reading? They don't even touch it. They use like a big finger pointer thing to read from
Torah.
the Torah, right?
Yep.
So the whole thing with this and all that stuff.
Yarmulkes.
The yarmulke, they just have all these different things.
Right.
Well, you can't build the synagogue until you purify the land, you purify the tools. You like there has to be this big purification thing, and they had and the Torah talks about ways that you purify. Like how did you get rid of sin before the coming of Jesus? Do you know how you do that? So like with Christianity.
Baptism.
With Christianity, you went to the church, you confess your sins. When you confess your sins, you have the priest, says, say 10 Our Fathers, and you're absolved of your sins and all that. Well, so Christianity gave you a direct connection to God where you could be purged of your sins, or relieved of your sins. Well, before that, you had to go to the temple and you had to do offerings, and you had to do burnt offerings. So depending on your social class, if you weren't rich, if you were rich, you would go to the synagogue and you would take goats, and you would kill the goats, and you had to kill them a certain way, and you have to give them up, and they would do like a burnt offering, and you were relieved of your
And what do
sins.
they call that? And that's what they call the proper way of butchering an animal.
Right.
God, I
But-
can't think of what
but-
that's called.
Kosher.
Even
No, it's not. But there's another word for
and
it.
even in Deuteronomy, it said who was able to kill the animals, how they killed it, and everything to do the proper burnt offering. And if you're really poor and you couldn't do it, then they allowed you to buy like some pigeons. And so in the old days, in old Israel, in front of the synagogue, and in the story of Jesus, he would eat the money changers and he flipped it. Well, all that happened in front of the synagogue, where you had the money changers that would exchange money, and they would also let you buy the pigeons. They
So
let you buy the
are you
goats.
saying that they're cleaning out the land to be able to build the second
But-
temple?
Yes, but there's a way to do it. And the Torah talks about it, and it relates to what's going on now. So there's a thing called the red heifers.
Okay.
Do you know what a heifer is?
Cow.
Right, but what kind of cow is it though?
An unbred cow.
An unbred cow. And it has to be red. So in the old days, whenever they built the synagogues back then and all that, they had to get, there's rules on these, they have to be red and they have to be heifers. And they have to be heifers that had never been yoked. Like, you could never have leaned on them or anything, and they have to be of a certain age. And if you had these red heifers, you would kill them and do a burnt offering to purify the tools, the weapons, the land and all that, to build the second temple.
Okay.
Right? So guess what happened before all this was going on in Israel? So part of the thing in Israel, a lot of this stuff not happening, there was no red heifers. There's no like unblemished red heifers. Well, guess what they found in the United States?
Who?
Some rabbis
They found some red heifers,
in Texas.
and so
Well,
they're
anywhere. I
Well,
mean,
no, but they have to meet this criteria.
but like a Hereford cat heifer.
But it
would
has
be
to
a
be,
red
it
heifer.
had to be a heifer that meets certain requirements, age requirements. They have to be clean. They have to have certain size. They can never have been yoked. You can't have like
So
rough
then
them up.
what you're saying then is they found these
So,
heifers, they have
There's
to
these
bring them
brothers.
to,
There's these brothers. They raise cattle in Texas, and they knew about this whole red heifer thing. So they thought, how cool would it be if we raised red heifers? So some 30 odd years ago, these brothers start breeding red heifers along with all their livestock, and they've been doing this for 30 years. Just out of the blue, they thought, let's do red heifers because they knew about this Bible story and all that. And so somewhere in the last couple of years, some rabbis caught word that, hey, there's some red heifers in Texas. So they go down there and they say they're not bred, they haven't done this, they haven't done, they measure them, they have the right age. So they take 6 of them back to Israel. And guess what Israel wants to do? They want to rebuild the temple. So what's one of the major signs of the end of days? You have the birth of the nation of Israel, the rebuilding of the temple. It's like a huge indicator of Revelation.
where's the temple?
The temple is supposed to be built. You know where Temple Mount is in Israel? Like they have like a mosque on there right now. It's one of the most hotly debated sites. That the base of it, where the mosque is on Temple Mount, that was the remains of the second temple,
Okay,
and it's huge.
but
It's
who
huge.
owns it? What property is it under?
Israel does, but there's a mosque on top. From after the Israelis were dispersed, they put a mosque.
So
on
it's a
top.
holy site for both
For everybody.
Muslims, for Jews,
And
for
Christians.
Christians, everybody.
So it's a hotly debated thing. So
Are they wanting to tear that
they're
down?
going to have to if they want to the temple.
Wow.
So here's the thing. So a lot of people in the Middle East, they know about this. So Israel has a number of red heifers that they transported over that are unblemished, and Israel is preparing to do the rites of cleansing, of offering the burnt offering of the red heifers on the Mount of Olives, where it has to be done.
So then that provoked Hamas to do
Yeah.
to
So
fight against it.
So there's a video online where one of the guys from Hamas says, we are going to disrupt this. How dare the Israelis do their pagan rituals? And there's like a video of this guy saying this. I've never heard about it until I saw this video. Like, and there's a number of like these Palestinian people talking about how dare Israel do this.
Okay.
So, and they use that as one of the criterias for their attack against Israel to disrupt this whole process, because you have to do it during a certain time of year as well. And Israel has to hurry up and do it because one of the red heifers is already too old, so they're down to 6. They're down to 5 now, because they took 6. Now they're down to 5. One of them got too old. They have to be of a certain age. So that was one of the reasons for them doing the attack as well.
God, that's
Like
so stretched out,
And so
isn't it?
and so there's another component of it.
Oh God.
So
But there's more.
there's more.
If you order now, you'll get 5 Ginsu knives.
So when you do the burnt offering of the red heifers, you have to mix it with the remains of the previous red heifers that were used to do the cleaning.
where are they gonna find that?
They found it with the Dead Sea Scrolls. Apparently there's vials in there that were sealed that had the remains of the original red heifers that they did umpteen thousand years
Oh
ago.
my God.
And so now they have the remains, now they have the red heifers,
And you heard it here.
and you heard it here. I mean,
Not Screws and
probably the most
Pumpkins.
unknown thing about what's going on in the Middle East right now.
Yeah.
Like, how insane is that? And like, you have people, the end of days and all that. I mean, this is like the biggest thing if you're into that.
No, I'm still fixated on just the hostages that are still.
That's still there.
Yeah.
This is why I have to drink tequila. I have to process this all.
No.
This is why I don't keep up with this type of politics.
But it's nuts, though, right? I mean, and
yeah,
so
and wrapping my head around it drives me crazy.
so all this stuff is going on in Gaza, right? But that's one of the major components of it. Which, have you heard about this in the news?
No, of course not. It doesn't fit the 5-second,
The narrative. No.
story.
No,
You've got to.
it's insane. So
And now on to sports.
Now on
come
to
on.
sp- yeah,
What? This is
exactly.
like historical stuff.
you can
History Channel.
and you can look this up. It's all the pieces are there, and
So are you saying the coming of days, the end of days is coming?
that's what they're talking about. That's this building of the temple.
Are you
is-
starting to stockpile food?
Next
Stop
millennium.
buying guns, right? Oh my God! It just blew my mind as I went down this rabbit hole. I was like, what is this? Like, I couldn't get enough of it. I was listening to interviews of rabbis and reading about the guys in Texas. And Texas, of all places, have the red heifers that's supposed to usher in the end of days. Way to go, Texas!
Well, they got Abbott. You know?
I mean, like, mind blowing. So I don't know. I don't. What I mean, any thoughts on that? Like
That it just I don't understand that.
I mean, it's far. It's fetching.
for the Israelis, this is going to usher in the coming of the Messiah. For them, it's like a big thing. Like there are Orthodox Jewish people that are like they are balls deep into everything, right? Into the scripture and all that.
You think that the typical, resident is aware of these things?
Like American resident?
No, there.
I don't know. I think the people that are like ultra religious, yes. But I'm sure Israel has people like us that are just everyday people, right? Go about our business, go to work, go home.
Carry your M16.
Yeah, good looking Jewish chick, right? But
Isn't that weird? When you watch the news sometimes,
Right.
they're in regular clothes and they're,
Right.
getting on the bus and they're carrying their M16.
yeah, how nuts is that? So I don't know, food for thought,
Talk
food for
about
thought.
Carry,
So if you believe we're in the end of days, guys, it's not too late to go to church and repent and
I don't know.
wait for the rapture to come.
I don't know, it's a little...
It's so if you're not like ultra religious, you're like you believe there's God, whatever, but you go about your daily life. It seems a little extreme, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be able to tell the future like that and all that, there's like a
But you got to think about
set
how
plan
many
like
how
that.
many crusades were there? 4 or 5, where people walked all the way across Europe to reclaim the Holy Land in the name of God, and they chopped off heads of thousands of people. Like it's not anything new.
That's one of my big issues about religion. Is more people died in the name of their God
Name
than anything else.
And I was gonna say the Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, but it happened in India with the what do they call it, the Hindu Holocaust. So many Hindus were killed in between the Buddhists, between the Muslims.
Before that, you had the pagan religions at
Right.
war with one another. The Nords versus
Everybody had
the
their
Huns and it
right.
was-
So it's not anything new under the sun. So it's kind of
No,
like
so I don't believe any of this.
and most of the not most of, but a good number of the Catholic churches are built on pagan ground.
right. And if you're a devout Christian, like it doesn't matter if it's Baptist, Catholicism, whatever. If you're a devout Catholic and you're waiting for the second coming, then you would stand behind this because you're like, this is one of the indicators, the building of the temple of the coming of the Messiah. The second coming for us, for Judaism, is the first coming.
How many layers do you think there are in Mount Temple of the Mount? A couple of different layers,
Have you
right?
seen the stonework on the base of the
Well,
of the
here's
temple?
the thing. Mark just said they've been built on the
The-
pagan.
The first was built on the second.
So here's the
what
thing.
was there before the
go,
first?
just go to the El Zócalo. Go to the plaza in Mexico City.
Yeah.
Where do you think the cathedrals were built on?
Right
right.
there
On the
top of it.
stones of the pyramids of
That's
the
And
population beforehand.
It was the Aztecs before them, but the
That's how
Aztec
they got 'em to
conquered
come
the
to the-
people. Who did the Aztec conquer there beforehand? And then the Olmecs are unknown, but they're the ancient ones. We don't know who came before them.
The
And
chimichurris.
chimichurris, there we go. And they're famous chimichangas.
Not the chimichanga.
That was 500 years before.
So that kind of went down a
It was
real
hot.
serious note there, but
They
holy
didn't.
smokes, so-
They didn't have wheat back then for the tortillas for the chimichangas. So that's
That's
out.
That was out. Oh my God, that just it was a huge mind bend to read all this. How everything just kind
So
of
here's the thing.
Yeah.
So the pyramids in Egypt, what were they built on top of? Maybe there was an ancient civilization
Who
before
knows?
them,
right.
It was
And
where
they
the
used-
spaceship crashed.
Okay,
and
here's
they used the
I'm gonna butcher this.
base of it.
I'm really gonna butcher this, right? Because I didn't. I know about this enough to tell you about it.
We're going down the pyramid rabbit hole, aren't we?
Well, it's not really the pyramid, but it's about humanity, right? So the Earth is a billion years ago old, but every now and then they find something that's 20 million years old that's out of place. So they carbon date the ice. They can do isotopic measurements of ice core samples. They can measure the isotopes in the rocks and all that. And so humanity leaves fingerprints. Science leaves fingerprints. And with humanity, with life on Earth, there's spikes in carbon levels that remains in ice core samples and remains in the rocks. Lava in the lava fields, when lava starts to cool down, it captures all this. So there's spikes, carbon spikes in the atmosphere. Like right now, in our time, there's a huge carbon spike. You can't deny there's a huge carbon spike right now, right? Global warming. Mm-hmm. Well, there's about 3 massive carbon spikes in the atmosphere that spread apart about 80 million years.
Could it be explained by a meteorite hitting and killing the dinosaurs?
It could be meteorites hitting and killing dinosaurs, sparking tectonic plate movements. It could
wildfires,
be wildfires. It could have been massive volcano eruptions.
Whenever you find like the Earth,
or
like
people making
the
stoves
Earth,
and burning.
I know, right? So whenever you find the Earth split open like this, like where it lifts up, and I'll tell you where you can find this at. On the way to Carlsbad, when you're going by the Guadalupe Mountains,
The land of the lost.
and
you can see that in the Franklin Mountains taking
I'm sure
going across is that O'Hara?
You could find the level of Earth in the rocks of when the Earth was on fire 90 million years ago, when the asteroid hit the Yucatan Peninsula, set the Earth on fire, and destroyed everything. This ended life of the dinosaurs, which have been here for 120 million years. It's called the black mat layer, and like I said, I've seen it when I'm driving to Carlsbad, and there's like the rocks like this high, like really high, like 30, 40 feet high, and you can see the layers of the soil in the rock, but there's a distinct black line.
Oh, you're talking on the Guadalupe Peak.
Yeah. So like you can see, when you drive down the road, you can stop on the side. There's some places where the rocks just really lifted. It's just like kind of cut in. And there's a distinct black line in the rock. That's called the black mat layer. When the Earth was on fire, when the asteroid hit the Yucatan Peninsula.
We're gonna go dive that in October.
The Yucatan?
Well, some say it was Blue Hole in Belize was.
I mean, it could have very well been. So and I mean, so you could go further down the rabbit hole with this. Well, not the rabbit hole, but like 180 some. There's a point in time in the solar system when there was big things flying through the solar system, and so when they were doing dating, when they were carbon dating the rocks on the moon, they were dating it to see what the impacts on the craters. So on the moon, when we had the rovers on the moon, they were going about 1,000 meters out, as much oxygen as they can carry 1,000 meters out and back, and they were getting rock samples from very well-known craters to date it, and there's a pretty consistent dating of the moon craters of when it was pelted by these massive objects of space that coincide with massive craters on Earth, when just big things are going through the solar system, pelting the planet, pelting the moon, and just causing those massive craters. And I don't know the number. It's an obscene number of millions of years ago. But like right now, we're pretty stable right now. But there was a point when things were just flying through the solar system, hitting everything. And so that could segue to the next topic. And I mentioned this before, but I kind of was listening to Neil Tyson DeGraw talk about this. 2029. What's going to pass by the Earth in 2029?
Haley again?
No, not Haley's. Haley passed in the 80s, and it's on a 75-year cycle. Apophis. Now, the name Apophis means like the god of death or something like that. But it's going to pass by the Earth. It's going to be the closest thing to fly by the Earth ever. And it's going to be so close, it's going to come between the Earth and the communication satellites in outer space.
Really?
There's a 6% chance
that it's
going to hit the Earth. But and this is what Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying. It's not so much that the 6% chance of Apophis hitting the Earth when it passes by,
absorbing our atmosphere.
The gravitational tug, if it's close enough, it'll be captured by the Earth, it's gonna go back out and it's gonna swing back around in like another 9 years. And if we exert enough gravity on it, when it swings back around, it'll have a closer trajectory to it. It's called Apophis.
Oh my God, we don't
And-
hear about this either.
So wasn't
No,
it like
that's-
wasn't it like four or 5 years ago that we were able to see that one asteroid flying through the sky? You were able to see it in the evening. Like how cool is that? Apophis is again going to come closer than that.
But they're just,
2029?
they're just gonna send Bruce Willis up and they're gonna
I
set
hope
nukes
so.
off of it.
Well, you know, Bruce
Well,
Willis
probably
has,
not-
he
probably
has
not
nothing
Bruce
to
Willis.
lose. He has nothing to lose in
That's
that.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
he can go. He can volunteer to stay because he has nothing to lose anymore.
That's right.
Poor guy. He's got it rough. Like, what does he have now? Bruce Willis. We talked about this when Artie was on. When he was talking about Bruce Willis. That Bruce Willis has like some sort of aphasia, and it's going fast. Poor guy. Yeah. Man, talk about a way to start this Debbie Downer. Like now in 2029, Apophis. Like that's gonna be like so.
2029,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. Where are you gonna be in 2029, Dara? Fabuloso. Fabio.
I am going to, I don't know, I'm gonna have to,
He's
I'm
gonna
gonna be on the opposite
He's
side
gonna
of the
be.
earth.
He's gonna be on a
Where
beach in
Apophis is
South
coming.
America.
That's right. He's going to Brazil.
No, I heard
Or no, he
there's-
said he was gonna have a Brazilian.
I heard that there's going to be,
Brazilian tacos.
That's
it's not
way.
Tuesday.
That costs way too much money to pay to have your short hair yanked.
It's
Oh
not
my
Tuesday.
A
God.
Brazilian, that's a lot.
Oh, it's worth it. Oh man, I'm loving this this Maestro Doble Diamonte. You have a chance to drink a tequila. I killed a bottle of this in Juarez, and it was amazing.
Not as good as
Go Vivencia.
Convivencia, was it?
Yeah, we're gonna take a trip to Tequila, Mexico. We'll tell everybody about it.
God, that was
It's
the
a-
best. I
it's
will
a-
get a case to bring back with me. That was amazing.
It's the most amazing tequila. Amazing, little boutique tequila.
It's
you go
like
there.
mixing maple syrup and tequila. It was just.
And tequila's amazing. Like they talk about the way they grow the agave. They don't even water it. It just gets watered from the rain.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah,
And then it collects itself and
Right.
narrows it all down into the center of the plant.
and they let the plant grow for something like between 7 and 9 years. So for that plot, that's it. And then they have another plot, and so they cycle them through. And even when they're done, they have to let the land rest for a while. And they, anything that they don't use from the agave plant, they leave it there to just rot on the land to kind of.
Or do they slash and burn it, or?
That I'm not sure because they say they use most of the plant, but then they leave whatever's there on the land.
Ever go to the store and get bacon that is infused with maple syrup?
Oh,
God.
good
That's
God,
it's
it's amazing.
tequila.
It's amazing. Like when you're eating pancakes and you have bacon on the plate and kind of put the bacon in the maple.
Oh my
Oh, God, good God, that's amazing stuff.
Where are we going for breakfast tomorrow?
God. It's gonna be
I can't.
1.15.
They got me working tomorrow.
So, speaking of
I'm gonna be on
like,
a sailboat. I'm gonna be in the sailboat in Bocas de Toro on the coast of Panama.
I'm telling you, me, you, and Kyle just need to buy a boat and take off.
hey, I'm down there with you.
And we'll take the pole that we're gonna install in the RV and we'll install it in the boat.
That sounds good.
I love it. I mean, I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna take off, hang out with Dario for the weekend, never come back.
Bye.
Leave me in Colombia.
The last time we saw Marco is
Yeah,
On
running
the
on,
sailboat.
running on in a loincloth.
Bocas de Toro.
So, we kind of were talking about
There-
like our OnlyFans page.
You're really good.
I know, right? But
Dang it, Mark, you're a
Dude,
bad influence on me.
TikTok, the resolution passed the House of Representatives.
Oh, they're gonna ban TikTok?
So it still has to go through it still has to go through the Senate, but basically, I mean, this bill against TikTok, had majority bipartisan support.
Really?
It did. There was no fighting about it. Like Congress is on it, and TikTok's putting messages out. Call your congressman and all this, and so, and I'm trying to explain this to my Mexican ladies and why it's a big deal, and so, this ByteDance, it's a Chinese company, and they're like, well, we don't give anything to the Chinese party. Chinese Communist Party is majority owner of ByteDance. They are. And so they have access to everybody's information. They have access to all the American information. That's why TikTok's not allowed on any government phones anymore.
Right.
So, they so there's a push that to tell ByteDance, you sell off all of your Chinese Communist Party assets, or it's going to be banned in America. And there's a lot of people upset because some people make good money on TikTok. They do, You got girls on
Let's
there.
go to the other one.
There'll be another one
There'll be
in
another
6
one.
months.
But people don't really so and I've heard arguments either way, but the only argument I can tell people is like, well, national security. Why is it national security thing? If they know where I'm at, I'm good friends with Dario, and they have all my geotags, all my information. Then they're able to connect it to my good friend over here, and he has all of his information, and he's good friends with a 4-star general.
You know that during the Cold War,
Uh-huh.
the Russians kept track of pizza delivery orders to the White House.
I mean, of all things, right?
That's how they found out when there's hot stuff going on, because
The
pizza
pizza
deliveries would go up.
So imagine now in this day and age, what's the hot pizza? People just
It's technology, Dave.
randomly posting something on TikTok, right?
Not even. It's a Trojan horse. It's a way to get into a phone. They can turn on the microphones.
Absolutely.
It doesn't even have to be. The battery could be out. I mean,
When
they just have
these-
to point
these-
the laser to it, and
These
they can tell 'em.
these agreements on the phones that you're going to give this company full
Yeah.
access to everything on your phone, all
All
your
your
contacts,
contacts and-
turn on the microphones, and people says, I have nothing to hide. It's not about what you have to hide. But it could happen.
For those that do, it's important.
Right. And we're all, how many people are we all away from anybody anymore in the United States? You're like only like 2-3 people away from anybody anymore?
It's still 7 degrees of separation.
Not in Las
For
Cruces.
bacon.
There's only 2 degrees of separation
Yeah.
in Las Cruces.
Yeah.
Like
Everybody-
think about
And it's your
9/11.
cousin in Palacio.
That was hilarious.
I mean,
hilarious.
think about like 9/11 happens in New York. We're here in New Mexico. How many people did you know in New York or knew somebody that knew somebody in New
Oh,
York?
my cousin.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
cousin.
Everybody had a connection to somebody who died in the World Trade Center.
Right. And that was like 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
Technology wasn't that great. And now technology, as great as it is.
Yeah.
At the time, my wife's cousin was supposed to be in the tower that day.
Yeah. Wow. I like I was talking to my lady friend because she was kind of young and she didn't understand, and I said, the world stopped that week. Remember 9/11?
Yeah,
Totally.
I remember the work was going to buy me a new truck, and the money's sitting there. We're ready to go, and I'm going around calling all the fleet dealers in the Southwest trying to find the truck I want. And 9/11 came along. Boom. We just stopped.
Everything stopped.
We didn't know what to do. And then George Bush came on after about a week and said, hey, we got to get this economy back going. And da-da-da-da-da. My dad called me up. Said, go ahead and order that
I mean,
truck.
all the airlines stopped running.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Oh, I had friends that were
And that-
on the planes.
remember that
They
orange-
went to Canada instead.
That orange F-250 I used to drive?
Mm-hmm.
That truck.
9/11 truck.
And I bought that 2 weeks after 9/11.
And that's when the world changed for us. Everything changed from that.
Everything changed.
Everything changed. I mean,
My
20
daughter
year
was
wars.
an infant, and I'm sitting there watching the news. And back when I was watching the news, I was watching the news in the morning, getting ready for work, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I brought a child into this world."
Yeah. Like we were waiting for the next big thing to happen.
There's people, friends that still call each other every September 11th because they were together at that point, at that moment in
Yeah.
time. It's like
Yeah.
calling them for their birthday.
One of the kids that was in Boy Scouts with my son, his dad's a retired lieutenant colonel. He was in the Pentagon when it got hit.
Wow. Apparently he wasn't in that one section.
He wasn't in that one section.
So I mean, what was like? So there's so many conspiracy theories about 9/11, the towers, and all that. But that section of the Pentagon, what was big about that section? Coincidentally,
What?
so the day before, do you remember any of this? Like the day before, what happened on the news with Donald Rumsfeld?
No.
Donald Rumsfeld came on the news, and I don't remember the number, but he said there's something like
Missing funds.
something $1 trillion of
Oh.
unaccounted money the day before.
Yes.
So the accounting office for the military funds
That's
that
what-
they were going to audit, what part of the Pentagon was it located?
Right there.
Part that got hit. So that was just one of those other things that kind of fuel in the flame about like,
The conspiracy. Well,
conspiracy.
that's the conspiracy thing that man hadn't walked on the moon and
yeah. I
the
mean,
Earth is flat and there's
Yeah.
aliens that live in the South Pole.
okay, here's one for you. I mean, because I don't know, this is not really a conspiracy theory, but it's kind of interesting. I was listening to somebody talk about this, and he's talking about those videos of nuclear bombs going off. You know, we've all seen it, where the shockwaves hit the trees and
Bikini Island.
yeah, and then
Some of those were fake. Some of those
But
were
do you
to
know-
scare the Russians.
But do you know why? Do you know how you know they're faked?
Because the camera exists.
The camera is
afterwards.
this. So there's camera footage of a house, and like the vehicles, and the trees, the shockwave, the bomb, and like for the longest time I thought that was real.
But
And
the cameras didn't blow up.
Right.
the cameras didn't blow
But
up.
they leaked those to the Russians to say, oh boy, this stuff is real.
Yeah. So all those nuclear videos and pictures and all that.
Did you ever see the movie
Models.
Wag the Dog?
Wow. Yeah.
And there was some political scandal, and some political people hired this movie producer to create a fake war in some country that was not in non-existent,
Yes.
just to get the sex scandal.
1997. Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Wag the
remember
dog.
that.
Yeah, that was.
Well,
great.
isn't there? There's one even before that. In the 60s or 70s, it's the country that cried mouse, or the mouse that bit the lion, and it was like a small country, like nobody knows the name of it, declared war on the U.S. because they wanted to get reparations after the war to rebuild their country, and so they wanted to be the victim.
They wanted
They wanted restitution after, so and they had like one tank or something like that. They declared war against the United States.
and we went in and wiped them out and then rebuilt everything. Huh?
Oh, it was just a comedy of errors going on.
So there's a president in the United
Probably
States.
Peter Sellers movie.
It wasn't Peter Sellers. He wasn't a president.
You remember? No, what I mean is,
No, I don't remember.
it was like a comedy.
Yeah.
So there's a president in the United States still at war with East Germany.
And who was that?
So there's two presidents on the continent of the United States. Our American United States president. And then you have the Republic of Molossia, a micronation claiming sovereign over 11.3 acres land near Dayton, Nevada.
Oh
What?
yeah.
That might be the movie basis.
No.
then, huh?
That's true. It's true. I've seen this
They
before.
they claim
They claim
they're
that
at war with the U.S.
No, they're a sovereign
East,
nation.
East Germany. Well, East Germany doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
I mean, they have no currency, no nothing. It's not even recognized by the United States. But this guy claims that we are a micronation of the Republic of Molossia. And if you want to buy anything there, you have to take chocolate chip cookies with you because that's the only currency they
Yeah, the
recognize.
only currency they have is chocolate chip cookies. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely, just like, but his name is Excellency Kevin Baugh, Baugh, and he's been in the
Baugh.
reign of the Republic of Molossia for more than 40 years.
God.
Let's start our own micronation, guys.
Hey, that sounds like a tax write-off.
I know, right?
Do they have to pay taxes to? It's like an Indian casino.
Well, I mean, if it really is what it is, there was a place in the United States, and it was let me think about this. It was a place where you can go legally kill a man. And-
Chicken Ranch in Nevada.
No, that wasn't Kill a Man. I don't know what whorehouse you went to in Nevada, but that wasn't the chicken ranch.
I got my chicken yanked, but it got choked.
So there was a place in the United States where 3 states converged, but there was like a little strip of land that none of the 3 states
No
claimed.
man's land.
It was like a no man's land, like a small little plot of land.
You're not talking like the Toledo Strip when Michigan became a state.
No, I don't think so. I don't recall the details of it, but where 3 states came together and there was like a little sliver of land right there that none of the states claimed, and it was essentially no man's
Oh,
land.
you know what it is? It's on the northeast corner of New Mexico, going into There's
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma and
Oh,
Texas.
that's right, that's
yeah,
right,
it was
that's right.
no man's land.
That's
It was-
right. Yeah, the panhandle.
The
Oh,
panhandle.
yeah, the
Right.
panhandle of Oklahoma. Yeah,
Right,
Oklahoma.
okay, there we go. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And like you could essentially, like say, go kill a man
But,
There's
and,
no
well,
jurisdiction.
and that was Indian territory as well
for the longest time.
for the longest
Right.
time, and nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
And they could have
Until they
started
discovered oil.
until they
Yeah.
discovered oil.
Well, not in the casino one.
There goes our chance to create our micronation.
Yeah.
I know.
Every time you say micronation, I think of that thing with Kyle and the micro.
Micropenis.
Yeah. we were trying to
Oh.
set our buddy Kyle up with some girl, and he texts me. He's like, "Hey, we got to get together and make sure our stories are straight." And I texted him back. He was like, "Well, I didn't tell her anything about your micropenis issue." And of course, Kyle had another come back to that.
Oh, he does. And
Yeah,
he's the
but-
same one that I just rolled off laughing this morning. He's the same one that has this insight on
God.
insight of Messiah women, and it says,
You want me to read that?
yeah, that is hilarious
God, that
because
was
it
hilarious.
just went on, and then the punchline at the end just kind of knocked you over, realizing, oh, there's so many levels of this joke.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I'm laughing, but then I have to really think about it because.
Oh, okay, so it started. God, I can't do this.
No,
No,
don't
no,
go.
no.
He
Yeah,
goes,
just say-
I'm from Messiah. We consider them all tacos anyway. When we will leave the beginning of this conversation out, and I thought, well, I left that out, and then I did a Billy Bob Thornton thing from Sling Blade. And anyway, he goes, actually, Messiah means side table, but in Spanglish translation is side piece, which makes sense because they all think they're somebody's Sancho without realizing they're cousins in their back door when they're out at Palacio.
It just went on and on. And it's
Oh my God.
the Sancho and the cousin and then they're in Palacios.
Yeah.
And then Palacios brought it back to Messiah, right?
And
So-
then
oh my
I
God.
called it. Dario goes, that has so many different levels, and I was on multi Messiah.
Okay, 3 things that not to Google search.
Your name?
No. Let me pull it up because I searched them. Do you know what a lemon party is?
A lemon party?
Yeah.
No.
If you Google it, you Google lemon party.
What is a lemon party?
So it takes you to a website of 3 elderly men pleasuring each other.
Okay, so I'm not gonna pull that one
No.
up.
Are
And
you
that was the thing,
serious?
yeah, I kid you
like
not.
Wikipedia type?
No, I Googled lemon party.
Like what WhiteHouse.com took you to a porn site, but it's supposed to be WhiteHouse.gov.
So-
I'm gonna text Kyle, hey, Google lemon party.
So there's 3 things you're not supposed to Google, and 2 of them I did. The second thing that you weren't supposed to Google is called Harlequin fetus. I didn't,
Oh my
do you
God.
know what that was?
A harlequin?
Harlequin fetus. I didn't look that one up, but the third one that I did Google after lemon party, I was like, okay, not Googling lemon party ever again. Don't need to see that anymore.
Tell your best friend at work to do it in the
Yeah.
office.
I know, right?
Now you're going straight to HR.
Okay, blue waffle. Do you know what the blue waffle was?
Blue hair?
No, blue waffle. Like blue waffle. There's a
No
waffle.
idea.
I mean, I can see the wheels turning here. So there was an internet thing created many years ago. I'm waiting for
I can
for
imagine blue hair ladies.
the greater mark here to research what a blue waffle was. So the blue waffle, there was pictures and everything that went with it. So basically, it was a made up STD.
Are you kidding?
And it actually caught traction for a while. It was called Blue Waffle, and it was supposedly, and they made pictures of a women lady parts that looks really rough and it has a blue tint to it, and it was a made up STD called the Blue Waffle.
Oh my God.
No joke.
What is it? Coach always talks about getting the from Vietnam. I don't know, the Thai clap or the black clap or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
You're
surprised
gonna end
you
up with the
came.
black clap. Yeah.
Oh, you must have worked on the railroad.
Yeah, I always tease Lorenzo when I'll tell everybody when he's around. Yeah, when Lorenzo was in Vietnam, he worked on the Thai railroad. Really? Yeah, he laid a Thai a day.
Ooh. So there is a thing called the Harlequin fetus,
Oh my god.
and the pictures are disgusting of it. And I mean, I don't know.
You're not gonna put it up on the screen?
No.
No. What does a Harlequin baby look like? Infants with this condition are born with prematurely with a very hard, thick skin covering most of their bodies. The skin form large diamond-shaped plates that are separated by deep cracks, fissures. These skin abnormalities affect the shapes of the eyes, nose, mouth, and ears, and limited movements of the arms and legs.
So was it real? It was a real thing, or was it another made-up internet thing?
I don't know. Harlequin ichthyosis?
I don't know.
I
That
don't
sounds
know.
official, but
It sounds official, but it could be
so does blue
blue waffle. I mean, if I
and
told
the black
you,
cloud.
if I told you, hey, I got with a girl last night, she had the blue waffle.
It's like,
Or if I
what kind of
said,
haircut is that?
hey man, I went to a living party last night.
That's a different story.
Oh jeez, I mean, it kind of, it's kind of like a blue, like a lemon party is kind of like, it sounds like the whole pineapple thing. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, what is this?
It's the opposite of a pineapple thing.
So I didn't learn about the pineapple thing until about 2-3 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
So what are you gonna do about that tattoo now?
He's gonna have that burn off the inside of his thigh.
I
made it this way up so I can face it and look at it.
I can
But
see the
when I
pineapple.
hold my arm
I know,
down-
it's upside down.
But when I put my arm down, people ask me all the time
So
to
Well,
come
that's-
have drinks
that-
with them at the RV park.
That's like I always tell that one girl to have her name tattooed to the back of her neck upside down. That way they'll remember her name.
Oh my god.
So, quick question.
Horrible.
Do people really put upside down pineapples outside? That's the $1 million question. I mean, do
I've never seen
Flamingos are supposed to be the same deal. Now, some of the RV parks, I think that's a thing.
So maybe people on the road.
That was in a
traveling.
movie. That was the movie with what's that name of that woman that chopped off that guy's
No,
feet?
but they
I'm your biggest fan.
They
That's
have
right.
dating sites for that sort of thing.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
there's
And-
dating sites for
and-
every sort of
and-
thing. Doesn't mean that.
And my old girlfriend, when we were in the
Pineapples.
grocery store, I used to stick pineapples upside down the shopping cart all the time and turn around and walk off.
I
Excuse
don't
me,
know.
man.
I've always been, so others believe that the upside down pineapple originated in Europe. It is thought to have been used as a symbol of welcome during the Renaissance period. Either way, it's clear the upside pineapple has come to be known as a sign of friendliness and welcome.
Upside down
The
pineapple.
pink flamingo is supposed to be the same thing.
I'm very
Really?
curious.
What does the pink flamingo
Uh-huh.
say?
It says the movement grew in the 1970s.
Of the pink flamingo?
The upside down pineapple.
For friendliness.
No, for the swinging culture in colonial America.
Oh, so it's this. There is some
Validity.
to the swinging culture.
That's
colonial.
what I'm trying to determine. Is this whole upside down pineapple thing a legit thing? So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it came from, but it's pretty exciting. Let's bring back the upside down pineapple.
I think we should get like little calcomanías stickers made.
Of pineapples.
And put them on friends'
Put
cars.
them on cars of people we don't like very much.
Put them upside down.
Did
Oh,
that-
I mean, I know about even people I like. I would do that too.
You know
I
what?
knew that when back in the day in Las Cruces, you cruised town. You cruised up a sales Sonic and up, back around. And I had this buddy named Mike, and he had this really sweet '67 Chevelle, and that was back during the Mikey Likes It. So we had a bumper sticker that said Mikey Likes It, and the bumper was chrome, and you had white shoe polish in your car at all times because you would shoe polish your front
Right.
windows and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That was like the thing. So I just wrote up the ass on it. Mike drove around for like 2 weeks
Oh
before
my
he
God.
realized, he was pissed, man.
I am gonna make a website for this podcast, and I'm gonna put on there to sell upside pineapples. But so to put upside down, I'm gonna put something underneath there
Like a line.
something say like follow me home or if you're interested, you know.
Honk twice.
Honk twice,
Honk if you like it.
yeah. Honk if you like it. Have the upside down pineapple.
Flash me.
Flash
if
me.
you like it.
God.
Oh my God. So that's what I've been going down. I went down the rabbit hole from the red heifers to the asteroids to like
Upside down
TikTok,
pineapple.
and the upside down pine. Oh no, not the upside down pineapples.
That's
the
because
blue
you.
waffle.
That's because you're getting married, dude.
The
The
blue
upside
waffle.
down pineapple.
I know. I need to talk her into it. Okay, so when I was about 18, I was dating this attractive woman, and we go to
I
parties.
could only hope.
Oh, she was gorgeous gal. And
Was this after the trans surgery?
No, I was probably about 18, 19, and she was like 29, and a gorgeous gal. And so we'd go out to clubs and all this stuff, and she was always coming up to me and telling me like, hey, you know, that couple there wants to know if you want to swing with them. And like, when I was 18, 19, I was barely coming out of my shell. So I was like, huh?
For a minute there, I thought you were coming down a different angle here. I was barely coming out of the closet. I'm barely coming out of my shell.
The door is open.
The door is open.
Go
But
back.
I don't know if it was because she was attractive. I don't know what kind of vibe she was giving off, but she was always hit up by swingers. And I remember there was one couple in particular. And I was
She was with the young gigolo.
I guess, and I saw this guy's wife, and I was like, but no, they never.
I used to date a woman, and like twice, once we were on a cruise, and this couple came up and they buddied right up to us, and they're like real friendly, and she's sitting next to me, and he's talking to her, and we didn't go off partying with them that night. The next day they were like fucking rude to us, you know.
Oh, they were gonna talk about Amway.
And they started drawing circles, you know. And then another time we were at a winery, and another couple hit us up. Yeah, and that's a thing.
Dude, I guess it is a thing, and I guess it's still alive and thriving.
Yeah.
I always tell a story of a guy I played rugby with. He was like a Hawaiian guy, and he was that kind of guy that looked at a dog that's just chiseled. He's like, he'd eat pizza all day, and he was just chiseled, monster 6-pack and everything. He's like tall, dark, and
Jeans.
yeah, and so he was telling me and some guys, he goes, well, you know, I'm surfing the internet and I find these dating websites, and he goes, I found this one website for lonely women that are looking to hook up with guys, and he says, can't hurt. So he, you know, does it, meets up with an older gal, and so he meets these older women that pay him money to take him out on dates. And he goes,
I know the website's called Only Samoans.
and his whole college career, like it was kind of known with us buddies. He's like, he's gonna go, you know, to the next town over, and he's gonna go on a date. And these women would pay him to take him out, and that's how he made his money. And I mean, like I say, the kind of guy that didn't have to work out, but he was like ripped.
See, I was a gigolo for a short period of time, but I gave all my free samples away. I went broke, dude.
Oh my gosh, man. Anything else in these? What's worth covering?
Spring break, dude.
But I feel like spring break's not what it used to be, though.
No, not at all.
Yeah, when you're in your 50s, spring break
my
just
Matter
isn't
of
the same.
fact,
I'm really disappointed with my kids. They don't want to leave the house.
No. Florida is anti-spring break now. They're like telling people, don't come to Florida for spring break. And they're like, they look for kids on the beach during spring break, and they send the cops because they're done with
No,
it.
I just realized
Really?
something. You know,
Yeah.
this is like the first spring break that we're not doing a beach vacation, a road trip there, a flight here. We're not doing anything, and it's because the kids
The kids.
don't really want. I sent them a page of options of things. Hey
How
kids,
come I didn't
what
get
should we?
this?
We could go diving here. We could do this. Take the RV here.
Did
go to
I
Minnesota.
send you a copy of what I sent them?
No, but I would have been.
Oh my god!
I would have been
I
like,
had
send
to-
the kids to their moms out there.
Let's do it ourselves.
So when I was in college, all 20 years, I would get my buddies together, like Wednesday or Thursday. We would go get bare minimum, take a road trip to Rocky Point. We wouldn't have anywhere to stay. There's
And
time
sleep
to-
on the beach.
We slept
Yeah.
on, paid $5, sleep on the beach. And we
Because
stayed
there
there
was
for a week.
nothing better to do at home, right?
And there were the clubs there. Girls
You didn't
from
wanna
all
be
over.
home.
You didn't want to be home. You were
Now
like
the kids
every
these
night.
days, they don't want to leave the house
Like what's going on?
because they've got the computers in their rooms. It's like having TVs in their house, in the rooms, and they don't leave.
I did a video.
No.
I did a video thing with my grandkids today, and they're showing me the new bedrooms and stuff. There's a freaking flat screen hanging on the wall. What do you have the
Jeez.
electronic babysitter in the kid's bedroom, Megan?
Lord.
Really?
I had a 10.
I had one TV in my house when my
Yeah.
kids lived with me. That was it. We watched that one TV.
You had a TV?
A console TV.
I had to plug in the inverter to heat up an hour before so that it would reach the voltage to
What?
feed the power to the black and white monitor that was the size of this iPad
What?
No, when you were a kid.
when I was a kid.
No, I was talking when my kids were when I became a
Good
single dad.
Lord. Like we grew up like 5 kids. For us 5, we had a 10-inch Montgomery Ward's black and white TV. That was it. And you had to put the bunny ears on. We were always trying to watch like in living color on Fox News.
But it was a black and white TV?
It was, and we had the coat hanger and the foil, and we were trying to do it because we had it for our Atari 2600.
Oh.
But to try to get something on it was a nightmare.
When we were kids and we lived on the farm in Ohio, the TV went out.
Yeah.
And my dad was like this aerospace engineer guy. He would take the tubes out and he'd fix the TV.
The tubes.
And we went all summer long, no television, until football started. When football started, Dad went down and bought a new TV.
No joke.
No joke. And that was our first color TV. It was, and that was, I mean, we left the farm in '76, so that was 73, 74.
I remember the first time getting a remote control for the TV.
I was the remote control.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It was a clicker.
Not only that, I had to go outside and turn the antenna. We had what, 7, 4, 9, and 13. That was our TV channels here. And we would have to turn to get like 13. And for a long time, 13 was PBS, but then it switched over between 9 and 13 split. So we'd have to go out and move the antenna on the roof.
Point
So
of
we lived where
inflection.
we couldn't get cable.
We would go down to Anthony, and there were these guys that make these little copper tubes, and they put the windings in there, and you put it up like, it was just like a T-bar, a tube, like, with the windings in there, and you attach it to something, and once you put it high enough and attached it, you would get any channel you wanted, and you'd pay the guy like $20. And at the time, 15, 20 years ago, $20 is like, oh God, I don't know if I can afford $20. And back when we would do $1 gas fill-ups at the gas station.
I said.
Yeah, you
this
put
is-
$5 in it last year.
This is his last spring break because he's
Right.
graduating, right? So I said, okay, what do you guys want to do? Steak for dinner every night. What do you want to do? Whoop whoop. Road trip to the Nuclear Power Museum in Albuquerque.
That would be cool.
That'd be really cool.
I'll do that with you.
Yeah, walk Slot Canyon. Scuba Balmorena State Park. Road trip to San Antonio to see the Alamo.
I could take him to see 4 slot canyons in one day in Las Cruces.
All right,
I'm
right.
up for that.
Go to Austin to see the city that you were born in. ATV.
Wait, which?
This was a text to my
Yeah.
boys, all of them. I said, What do you guys want to do during spring break? Do you want to drive to Austin? Do you want to go to San Antonio? Take the RV, camp
Yeah.
out? You want to go ATV rides, fly the drones, go on the dirt bike, RV camp out at Dripping Springs, go target shooting, go take a test flight at the airport, parachute indoor, do a restaurant crawl at places we've never been to, like the Speakeasy in El Paso.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that one?
Yeah, I did the
That was
speakeasy
really-
a few weeks ago, yeah.
Go to Dave and Buster's, go
Take
to the
your
Rad,
checkbook.
go to the new aquarium, wherever. Not one response.
What? Like
Nothing.
kids are different now. Like
You know
what
what?
happened if you messaged them like, hey, let's take a trip to Rocky Point? Would they go for it?
No.
No.
You want to go to San Carlos and go sailing? No. We can go to
So-
San Carlos and go sailing.
I should have written that down. Do you want to go
One of-
sailing?
So one of my Rocky Point trips, I had a buddy that
I'm
was
done
kind of-
spending money
kind
on
of
We,
like a
I
crazy
mean, we
guy.
could even sleep on that on Hector's boat. He'd be cool with that.
So we went to Rocky Point. A bunch of our friends and a buddy of mine went, and he's one of the smartest guys I've met.
So where did you drive to? You drove to
Through going to Tucson,
You
but
went
then we turned off on that
Tucson?
one road to cut through Sonoritas.
Yeah, you went through Gila Bend, or
The Gila
yeah,
Bend?
yeah.
to the Rocky
Sonoritas,
Point.
and then from Sonoritas we drive out.
Not
It's
not
only
San
40
Carlos Rocky
No,
Point,
no,
it's
no,
the
no.
other one.
No, yeah. It's Rocky Point is north of San Carlos, and it's only 45 minutes once you cross
Puerto
the border.
Peñasco.
Yeah.
Puerto Peñasco.
Yeah, and this guy is interesting. Like kind of guy that would get straight A's without trying, but in like OChem.
Oh God.
Yeah, but man, he liked the party, and
What was he running away from?
I don't know. So what he ended up doing after he dropped out of college, I don't think he graduated.
Why?
He ended up going to Bangkok, just moved out of the blue. Now he's in China teaching English. He rarely comes back, but every now and then he does. But he just liked the party, like being in the middle of the worst of it. So we get to Rocky Point, and we get got to this random hotel. Some people were there that we knew, so we were all gonna stay there. He opens up his bag, and he has like a big bag of pills in his bag, and he goes, "Hey man, I've got roofies, man. Take however many roofies you want. Dude, he's got plenty for everyone." I was like,
He crossed the border with all that?
yes, he took him back to Mexico. I was like, dude, it's spring break it's Rocky Point, spring break. You don't need that.
Crazy.
Yeah, like,
You need a case of condoms. You don't need a.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. Like in my days, it was like MTV Grind. It was Cancun. It was Padre Island.
Mine
it
was Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. So like we were.
See, I never did anything spring break.
and
I
so
always had to
You were on
work.
the farm.
Well,
Or
no,
you had
we
a
were.
business.
I was here, but I've always had to work and.
So like I said, I did college for like 20 years, and I figured out, instead of going 1 week or the other for spring break, so like a lot of the colleges, spring break would overlap. And so
It was like a month-long thing.
it was 2 weeks, right, roughly. So a lot of colleges would do it 1 week in March, and then a lot of colleges would do it the next week in March. But if you went at the end of the week of the first week, like
Where they
on
overlap.
Thursday, and you go the weekend they overlapped, that's when it was the best. And so I was always there, girls, party, everything. Just it was like the best weekend, and we did that nonstop for so long. It was just the best. Yeah.
In
You know?
March.
In March. And so to hear that kids don't do that like the way we did back
Wow, I'm really. I mean, I have a small sample size, so.
then.
But you know, at the same time, they're just don't. It's indicative of a bigger problem.
It is a big problem.
Because they're what I'm realizing is that they're not going out to have life experiences because it's too comfortable for them to be at home.
So can I explain something to you that's going on in Japan? What's big in Japan is people and companies or groups that are paid. Like I have a company, and you would pay me to create like an event where I would guarantee to bring girls that you can meet to try to create a first date for you to meet in Japan.
That's called prostitution or
No,
hookers.
not prostitution. Like a legit, like trying to get people to meet so that they might date, they may start a relationship or something. Because in Japan, the dating scene is so horrible, and prostitution is like completely acceptable. Like for a girl in Japan to say that she would prefer her husband to go to a prostitute versus cheat on her with another woman, because with a prostitute, it's like, oh, there's no emotions, right? So, but because the birth rates in Japan have plummeted so bad, and there's almost like no interest in this date culture that we have here for the most part, there's companies that try to set people up on dates in Japan. But it's funny, with kids growing up in technology, on their phones and all that, their interests are diverted away from what we used to do all the time. We'd go party, we'd go driving around.
Well, why did we go cruising? Well, we would meet
it
girls.
was
meet
cool,
people.
and to go meet girls,
Yeah,
right?
hang out with your buddies, meet girls, drink beer, whatever
Like-
the deal was.
You know,
Like there was always a driving street where everybody drove up and down. That doesn't
we
exist
started
anymore.
a club at the university,
Oh, this is cool. Feel how heavy,
international club.
feel how heavy that top is. That's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I get a kick out of it. Like that's a heavy cork. It's like heavy. Doble Diamonte.
I sat there and I fiddled with that for a couple
You know what,
minutes,
I think it's
trying to
also-
figure out how it opened.
Yeah.
Another problem is that I think it's rewiring their brain to be constantly getting a dopamine hit on their device.
On the device.
Do you think when they were in the lockdown and COVID, it had a major effect on this?
Because everything was
Because
online.
they were at that soft spot in their brain age of learning and becoming a person,
Okay.
and they're locked down all summer or for almost 6-8 months.
Let me say this to you. You tell me if you know where this goes in. It's a documentary called The Social Dilemma.
I haven't seen it.
It's on Netflix. It came out in 2020. A documentary about how kids are on the devices nowadays, and they're so enthralled with it.
Yeah.
Like they're looking for likes, and if they don't get enough likes, they get down and bummed out about it. They don't interact. They don't get out. They're on their devices nonstop.
As a photographer, I would post a picture on Facebook and send it out to a couple groups or whatever, and I would spend the next 2 days looking at those pictures, seeing how many likes, checking the data on it, and that's how I got my self-worth. I realized what I was doing, and I was like, well, I'm not doing that anymore.
No, I think the kids
But I did that for about 6 to 8 months.
take away their iPad, and it's like taking away their cigarettes.
Yeah.
And so watch The Social Dilemma. So these guys that are creating things like Instagram, Facebook, and they put a lot of psychology when they're creating these.
Oh yeah,
the
they
code
want to
and all
make
that.
it. They want to make
They
it hooked.
wanted you to hook on it, and and one of them was like the CEO
like
or something
casinos.
of Instagram or something, and the guy doing the interview in the documentary, he says, are your kids on social media? And he says, no, I don't allow them to go on social media. So this guy that's like the CEO, I mean, it was like
He
something.
knows the dangers of it.
He knows the
how
dangers
it'll
of
hook
it.
him up. I should go to AA for social media because no, seriously.
No,
I'm
I'm bad.
I
I'm
am
bad.
totally hooked on my what is it called? The YouTube account. I have
Yeah.
a YouTube Premium, and it's the shorts.
The shorts draw
Oh
you in.
my God! They're like you go.
spend like
I was
an
like, I
hour.
can't stand doing this anymore. I need to actually find something that I can learn from. Then I find a longer storyline, like 10-minute long,
Right.
about some story or
But
whatever
you
it is.
kind of come
But
back to it.
but I cannot walk away with this phone from my
Yeah.
hand. It's not just Googling. It's not just searching, the internet for anything that. I mean, it's pervasive. It's intrusive. I think there's something wrong when you wake up in the morning. We all sleep with our phones next to us.
Right. Okay, let's take it
We
back
go to bed with
TikTok.
our phones. I fall asleep listening to my phone.
Yeah, I fall asleep listening to audio.
When
Or an
I'm-
old movie
when
or
I'm
something.
somewhere that I
Yeah.
can't really fall asleep with my phone, I get insomnia because I don't have that trigger to listen to something just. It might be a review of the latest truck that came out in 2024. Blah 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 blah. But that blah 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 lulls me to sleep. I fall asleep.
What-
And if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I might listen to a little bit of just play the drone of another 5 minute, and I fall back asleep.
And what I find I'm doing when I'm doing that is my mind is so active, and I've got so
It
much
focuses on one thing.
shit going through the
It's
hamster
an
wheels are
ADHD.
spinning,
ADHD.
and I can turn that on and I focus on that, and
Allows you to fall
I can
asleep.
put on spaghetti western or a
Me
movie
too.
or
Same
something
thing.
I've seen 100 times
Yeah.
on, and I'll be listening. I don't even watch it.
I listen to
I
school
just I
stuff.
close my eyes and I know what the next lines are going to be, and I'm following along,
So
and it allows me to sleep.
you talk about TikTok.
If this is adults,
So-
imagine what it's doing to kids.
You have TikTok in the United States and you have TikTok in China. And the way they compare it is the difference between eating spinach and taking opium. So in China, TikTok in China is highly regulated.
Educational.
It's all educational and it's all very nationalistic. And this whole thing of making money and little kids and all this stuff on TikTok is not allowed at all. But then you come over to the United States and
It's opiate.
TikTok,
It's a drug.
it's drug, bad. It's a bad drug.
Yeah.
So, and again, going back to this whole TikTok ban, well, if we know that China recognizes it, how bad it is, but yet it's highly invested in pushing the United States. Come on, yet they won't let their own population have experience what we're experiencing on TikTok. It's highly
It's like the dealers that don't use their own
don't use their own
merchandise.
drugs, right? Like just like the movie The Social Dilemma, the CEO of Instagram or whoever it was saying like, do I let my kids on social media? Absolutely not.
I'm concerned for the kids that if I were to do things over, I would not allow.
You would have never
Computer.
built that. You would have never built that computer for Mitch.
I mean, it's a cool experience to say like I built a computer, but then to watch your child on it all day. That's his
Yes.
whole.
And every time I see Mitchell playing a video game, I walk up behind him and I put my hand over his eyes.
But he's still.
I yeah.
And he gets all squeamy
Oh,
about
yeah,
it. He's
yeah.
like, no, I gotta get, yeah. But kids are like that now. So this gal in my she's talking about her little brother in Mexico, and she said, yeah, we have him a phone, we have his tablet, but she said like after 6 o'clock, he's not allowed on it, and he could use it more on the weekends. During the day, cannot touch it at all. And if he didn't have his homework done, he can't do it all. I was like, well, that's responsible. Way to go. And when it's time to go to bed, he has to give it to mom.
I'm so frustrated.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, and with my kids, if there was a behavioral issue or a grade issue or somebody's not doing their homework, that phone or tablet or iPad or whatever it was stayed on the counter, and they weren't allowed to take it down the hallway to their rooms.
I almost think there needs to be more social media regulation in terms of children. I really do.
Yeah.
And this whole thing, and I don't know,
Well, the teachers tell us already. Limited by a certain amount. It starts with the parents. We don't need more regulation.
No.
We just need more parents to be able to say,
Well,
don't do
were
it.
were you guys? I don't know if you guys were the ones I was talking about when Mark Zuckerberg was talking to the Senate subcommittee about pedophilia on Facebook. Were you guys the ones?
No.
So that one of the senators was grilling him about this, and I don't remember his name. This is one senator I like to listen to online. Forbes does a lot of those Senate committees on YouTube, like C-SPAN.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought I'd be a junkie for it, but I started listening to it. And he's grilling Mark Zuckerberg. Maybe it was Ted Cruz, and he says, "Okay, so you look up like pedophilia, like kid stuff, on Facebook," and he says, and a window comes up. And what does the window tell you? It says, you have two options. Pedophilia is, a crime, or it's not bad for you, click here for help. And then you're given a second option of continue on. So even though they recognize that pedophilia, child sex trafficking, and all that stuff, and they can identify it, where a window pops up stopping you from moving on, he says, why would you give anybody an option to continue on to that website? And Mark Zuckerberg said, well, we recognize it, and we give them the options to get help they need, and we put that little button there, click options to get help. And he goes, yeah, but you also give them the option to continue on to look at this stuff.
Well, how do you control that? I mean,
I don't know.
To some extent, it's like going to the hospitals in the Mayo Clinic.
Okay.
There are certain things that are online that the public can access and use it for nefarious purposes, or for legitimate research, writing,
Sure.
whatever. Certain things are never going to be probably normal,
Yeah.
but there's how do you control people from doing what
Well, I mean, if
they're
you-
going to go somewhere.
If you have a social media platform and you can identify it,
Then you shut it down.
but you give
And then-
people the option to continue on to it though.
No, but so let's say you shut it down.
No, if it's a moral stance, you report the people who are hitting the right click.
And so I think
Yeah,
that Ted Cruz,
I
and he
mean-
asked them, what are the stats of the people that click continue on? And Mark Zuckerberg said, well, I don't know. He goes, well, obviously you can identify it because this window comes up. So can't you track how many people are moving on to that?
Yeah, and send their IP address to the
Right?
authorities. Yeah.
Like, how weird is that? That you recognize it, but yet it's still an option.
Yeah.
Now I will give kudos to Florida. You know what Florida just did lately?
No.
They're trying to pass a bill in the Florida state government to open up all of Jeffrey Epstein's files.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
interesting.
You think that'll ever happen?
Yeah, but well,
I
I think we'd have to have 2 new political candidates running for president.
Was Trump was he taking pictures with that guy too?
He, you know,
Are there any pictures with him and?
how I don't want to go down the Trump rabbit hole, but I mean,
Anyone in presidential in that power?
yeah, take away Jimmy Carter, and pretty much everybody's been that way.
Damn.
It's nuts.
You know, Jimmy Carter. I didn't agree with it with a lot of Jimmy Carter's stuff at the time, but man, he was like the ultimate humanitarian.
Yeah. He's a
You
good
know,
guy.
I mean, he was just a straight up good
Here's
guy.
another thing about Jimmy
So
Carter. Do
this-
you remember remember the failed hostage rescue
Yeah, I
with
ran.
the helicopters that
Right.
got
Mhm.
They
dust?
crashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Do you remember the name of that operation?
God, no.
Operation Desert Claw, I think it was.
Was it?
If it was the foundation of why they came up with the Delta Force afterward.
Wow.
Because the regular army couldn't hack it. They needed a special unit of special forces that could go in for hostage rescue.
So
I don't know if it was Delta Force or
Whatever
whatever the name of it is. They came up with a
What-
whole different unit.
What is it? The Ryan Shaw show? Remember that one? The
Ryan
podcast.
Shaw?
Ryan. He had really good people he interviews.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like us.
He's a special forces guy. Yeah.
So he
Hey,
interviewed the Delta
you're
Force
just
guy.
digging through the bottom of the barrel.
Hey,
you know?
we're due. We're at the bottom of the barrel.
we're available and we
available and willing.
Yeah, you only have me come because I can
So-
come up with quick one-liners, and that's it. Yeah.
So he interviewed the
Situational.
Delta Force guy, and this Delta Force guy is saying like, well, you know, during Afghanistan, so many things were coming in, we had to quickly screen them and say like,
You
hey,
gotta
is,
get the rest.
is this a Delta Force operation, or do we send the little guys, the Navy SEALs in?
Yeah.
And he said there was an operation that came in Pakistan. Delta Force was looking at it, and he says, no, it doesn't look like it's a big deal. Go ahead and send
Oh, that's the one for where they got
Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
So he says, no,
They
it's
passed
not.
it up.
Delta Force passed it on and gave it to the Navy SEALs to go after Osama bin Laden.
Would they have lost the helicopter if it was a Delta Force helicopter?
It could have
operation?
because the problem with the helicopter was they landed in the compound. It creates a lot of downdraft, and then you have the walls creating the wind coming up like this. So I think the issue with the
tail.
that issue would have happened either way. You're giving Dario a small ice ball.
Mark's got little balls. You want some more?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
You know, I got this on Amazon. It was like 3 little ice ball trays that you can make a bunch of little ice balls, and it gives you the container to put them in when they freeze, and you can make more.
I'm
It's like
surprised.
$10 on Amazon.
Lorenzo has a machine that his new refrigerator makes the big ice balls.
Really?
Yeah.
So they sell the mechanism if you have water to your fridge.
He's got his new refrigerator. You know, his refrigerator died. He got a new refrigerator, and so I'm helping him hook up his ice tray in the door. And then he's got this other one that said craft ice, and so I flipped that on too. And it's freaking ice balls like that.
Nice. Like,
What a great invention.
Yeah.
dude, about time. Like,
It's like, man, I want that refrigerator.
You have to admit, it's kind of cool having a really cool ice ball in your glass, right?
Yeah.
And it cools off the liquor just nice.
You know
Yeah.
what? I'm really surprised at how fast it melts.
Yeah. Is it because of the consistency of all the way around, you think?
It would be the same with the square.
I guess
The
it
cube.
would be the same with the square. I don't know.
What?
I'm
It's
not-
same
I'm not gonna-
surface
We
area.
need to get one of those smoke machines so we can smoke our whiskey.
Oh, I saw those. I was thinking about that.
We saw that at that speakeasy the other day. That was
Really?
pretty cool.
Okay, so here's the thing. The speakeasy that Mark was talking about.
Here, let me look up the address now.
we have to go. We have to do a little road trip on the air
Man,
road trip.
it's not.
because
It ain't cheap.
It doesn't
So-
matter. We're gonna go. We're gonna see the
The two
door,
of it.
the secret door that opens up.
I was with the ex-girlfriend, and we traveled to New York,
And they have
Oh,
a
Lord.
speakeasy.
and so there was 2 speakeasies we were looking for.
I heard there's one in Albuquerque too.
Yeah, and I wonder, are they true speakeasies or are they just
No,
like after the
they're
fact?
they're
So
No,
consumer
we went
grade.
we went to 2 of them in New York that were legit
Cool.
New York speakeasies. One of them involved walking into like a payphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one. Oh, go ahead. No.
It was cool. And so the second one, and this is the one I remember the most. You go to around the side of a building and you walk in a door, and I guess back in the day you had a knock on it, and so you walk in the door and you're in this one restaurant, and so you walk through the restaurant, you go back to the coat rack or something like that, the closet where the coats go,
Yeah.
and you open another door,
You walk through the closet.
and you go like up a stairs and you go through like another restaurant, and now you're like really in the building, like.
Okay.
And so you go
I
upstairs,
just love the fantasy of it all.
and it's kind of cool. Like you go through another door, and you go through a stairs, and this was like a legit 1920s speakeasy. And so when you come out, you're in a bar, and it has like nothing but Chinese art.
Dude, if I could build
Chinese
a
art.
secret room like that in my house.
And it was like on the second floor, and the windows were like tilted like this, so you
That's
could
so
overlook
cool.
the street. It had to be one of the most beautiful.
So there's no
bars.
legitimate speakeasies now.
So of course now
They're
nothing.
all just
Yeah.
There's
they're
no
bars.
prohibition.
It's bars, right?
But-
It's bars, but it's cool when you have a
But so
secret.
is your
book
speakeasy
to-
now? Was it originally a speakeasy?
No,
or did
no,
you
no,
create it
no.
after
It was
the
created.
fact?
It was
It's in a
created.
mall.
It was
Yeah.
created.
Okay.
This isn't a mall. This is on the address of this is in El Paso on 502 North Oregon Street.
Right.
And we were doing a thing downtown El Paso, and it kind of sucked. So it was like, hey, there's a speakeasy. So we went, and you go, and there's a couple double doors,
Uh-huh.
and it looks like an office. But off to the right is an old-fashioned phone booth. So you're supposed to push the upper right button on the phone,
Ah,
and it sends off a light, and they come and they open the door. And you walk in, and it looks like it's 1920. It's called 1922. Is the name of the place.
Stuff.
The girls are dressed as flappers. They've got some guy in a red velvet coat singing Frank
yeah,
Sinatra.
it's got like the walls that are like partly brick. And
Oh,
kind
the
of
wall. One of the walls was brick, and it had numbers on the wall. I guess it used to be a boxing gym at one time.
downtown El Paso.
Downtown El Paso.
I know what. I know what you're
It
talking
was a
about.
really cool.
I
cool
love
place.
those. What were they called? Back in like just maybe 5 years ago, they were escape rooms. That they were really a big thing to do.
Safe rooms.
Escape rooms. You go.
Oh, where you have to find the puzzles
Yeah,
to
you
get
can
out.
put
I
together the
never did
They
one.
had
of them.
one in or maybe one or two here in town actually. I did one for my kids for his I don't know, maybe birthday or graduation. Or
That would
something
be
like
cool. That would be fun.
I think they closed since then, but it was so much fun.
So okay, so I went on
But
the.
we don't have enough people here to cover that
feed
kind of
that,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
They
So-
had it, yeah.
I think it's called Herrera's Boxing Gym. It could be, but I was doing these ghost tours in El Paso.
And we were doing a ghost tour in El Paso, and it was pretty lame.
There was a
I've done 'em
boxing gym, and we're standing outside, and the guy says, "We're not going to go in this building." He said, "This boxing gym's been here forever, really haunted." He goes, "We've taken people down into the basement where they would do boxing and all that, but like after hours, you had people doing all sorts of weird stuff in there, satanic stuff and all this stuff." And he says, the very last time he went in there, somebody just froze in place. And he says, we couldn't cut them to come through, and we had to get them out of there. And he said it was like a possession or something.
They don't take them in anymore.
So they don't take them in anymore. But this is like hot spot of paranormal activity with this boxing gym.
So I don't believe in any of that stuff,
Yeah.
but I still wouldn't go in the basement in the dark.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
I mean it's
the best ghost tour I had ever did in El Paso is El Paso High.
Really, my dad was in El Paso last year.
Every 3 or 4 years, El Paso High tries to raise money for the sports program,
Uh-huh.
and around
And-
Halloween,
So mind you, this is a high school that's been in El Paso for like 100 years.
It-
Old brick building.
before it was a high school, it was a U.S. military.
insane asylum.
No, it wasn't as. it was a training U.S. military training school.
I mean, I believe it.
And during the
It's a
Mexican
area.
American War, they stored the bodies in the basement
That's
because it was
that's why
cool.
That's why it's
And the teachers take you through, and they tell you the stories,
They have-
and they're the ones that work there. And there's like stories about basketballs going crazy in the gym.
Oh, fun.
And man, when I walked through. Now I was with somebody that at the time that was like into some really crazy shit.
Yeah.
And we went through the basement with them, and man, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. She had like cold sweat, goosebumps.
The whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was the freakiest. I've done them in Austin. I've done them in Galveston's pretty cool. There's some
Galveston,
cool.
San Antonio. Downtown.
Galveston, when Galveston flooded with a hurricane back in the 30s or 40s,
Yeah.
everybody died. And they would
Oh,
have.
that was a big flood back then.
Yeah, they
I
were
heard
they were
about
storing
that.
up bodies and stuff. And you know, me being a photographer, I'm going around with my camera set up to where I can take pictures on a super high ISO without a flash, and be able to hold it. And I got some pictures, and we're
Is it
sitting.
the 1900 Galveston hurricane.
Yes.
Yeah, we're sitting there at the, I want to call it the Malecon, the sea.
Malecon, yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
And we're sitting at the seaway, and we're flipping through my camera, and we're blowing up pictures, and we saw something funky, and it's like, man, let's go back there.
That's a ghost.
And I was like, let's just go in the store and see what the deal is, and not say anything. And the person I was with goes in there and she goes, we were here last night, and he took pictures, and show her the pictures, and da 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 da. I was like, oh my god. And the lady points to a newspaper article about this little girl that haunts that place.
Wow.
And it had another picture very similar to the one I took.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was
So-
that was pretty spooky.
Let me read this to you on Wikipedia. But
5,000 people died,
the
did they?
1900 Galveston hurricane, also known as the Great Galveston Hurricane and the Galveston Flood, and known regionally as the Great Storm of 1900 or the 1900 Storm, is the deadliest natural disaster in the United States history.
Water
The
at the 8,
strongest
10-foot level.
storm of the 1900 Atlantic hurricane season. It left between 6,000 and 12,000 fatalities in the United States. The number most cited in official reports is 8,000. Most of these deaths occurred in and near Galveston, Texas, after the storm surge inundated the coastline in the island city with 8 to 12 feet of water. It remains among the deadliest Atlantic hurricanes on record. In addition to the number killed, the storm destroyed about 7,000 buildings of all uses in Galveston, which included 3,636 demolished homes. Every dwelling in the city suffered some degree of damage. This hurricane left approximately 10,000 people in the city homeless, out of a population of 38,000.
Just covered the whole
All,
island.
all,
whole
all
island.
over Galveston, there's lines on buildings
Oh, yeah.
showing you where the water line was.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw that in New Orleans. There's lines all over New Orleans where there's like where they get floods and all that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's very similar to New Orleans with the cemeteries above ground, and not
That's
not to the
interesting.
extent of
So
New
you know,
Orleans.
you know what they do with those
The
what do you
crypts.
call them? The
Crypts.
crypts. The crypts above ground in New Orleans.
Yeah, what do they do?
So, like, okay, now some of them have sunk down. Now all you see is the pitch of the roof of them. It's because some of them are fully sunk. But the crypt is bought by the family, and it's a generational thing. So what they do is you'll have a pretty good sized crypt with like a layer, like a shelf in there. And so there's a in Catholicism there was a rule. He was talking about this. I never heard about it. About you're not about burying somebody. In Catholicism, you're supposed to bury people within so much time of when they die. But the rule had to be changed.
Judaism, too.
Judaism
Yeah.
too, but it had to be changed in the Americas on these coastal cities.
Oh, because of...
Right. The because of the water table on the coast and all that. So in Galveston, what they would do, in New Orleans, so you had a crypt that had a shelf, like a middle shelf, and then the bottom. So they would get the body of a loved one, and they put it in there to dry out, to completely decompose. And so if somebody else died, they put on the bottom layer. And so it took them approximately, I think, like 90 days. They'd leave the body in there to decompose, and then, yeah, right. And so over the time, they would seal it. They would brick it up and seal it, and then they put the face plate, and then after 90 days they would open it, they take all the bricks out, and in the heat the body would decompose, and somebody's job was to scoop the remains and put it in a burlap sack. And then they'd get like those long things, kind of like they use for pizzas.
Yeah.
With the spatula or one thing.
To
They-
scoop the body.
this-
What's
after-
left,
after
the
they have it-
juice,
Yeah, the juice. Well, at that point, there's no juice, right? It's
just the
heat and all
bones.
that. So they put it in the burlap sack, and they get that paddle thing, and they put the burlap sack at the back of the crypt, and so the top space would be left ready for the next person, and they put the next person in there. And so these crypts, these family crypts, you have 3, 4, 5, 6 generations of family members whose remains are all in the back of the crypt, where the burlap sacks eventually decomposed, and what remains of them were all in the back. So they say, what they say in New Orleans was that those crypts where the families came together again because they would put your remains in the back of them with your family members.
Yeah.
But that's somebody's job to do that thing.
That's
You know what I tell my kids when I die?
good jobs.
Yeah.
I tell my kids when I die I want to be spread all over a beach somewhere.
Kicking out
I don't want to be
things.
cremated. Just spread me all over a beach somewhere.
You know, I want bagpipes, I want tequila, have a good time, and you know what? Throw me in the Pacific somewhere if you can.
Cremate me and take me on a dive trip and
Make me fish food.
have a beer, sprinkle me, have a glass of Macallan.
When it comes to death, and I always tell this to people, you know what? You know, they're like, oh, it's sad. And I'm like, no, it's not. If you believe in the afterlife, you're going on to the next world and all that. But, if there's one thing that you owe to anybody that passes on, live a good life. Live the best life you can. You wanna honor the person. You wanna honor your loved one or what have you. Live a good life and make it worth it. That's what I believe.
Do you remember the movie Cocktail with
Yeah.
Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Coggins and all.
Yeah,
Bury the dead before they stink up the place.
that's right.
That's it. Because when you're dead, you're dead. It doesn't matter for you. The funeral's for the living.
That's right.
And keep it simple, stupid. And I just want to force my kids to go to the beach.
Have a good time.
Yeah, I just want my kids to go to the beach and remember me because that's the place I love.
Hell yeah.
So did
Yeah,
you put
yeah.
those down? Did you write that stuff
They know.
down?
I haven't written it. I don't have a will, Donnie.
It's like don't go to some place and cry over me.
Don't cry over me.
Don't put me somewhere and if you want
Tell-
to tell
tell-
stories about me and drink
Tell
tequila,
stories
do
about
it.
what an asshole
Yeah.
I am. I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I mean-
stupid shit I pulled on you, the bad joke, the nickname I gave you, I don't care. You can talk about how I started calling you El Dario, or we gave Coach the nickname Cochino, or we gave Janet her underwater handle. I don't care. You just give it whatever it is.
So there's
Janet's underwater handle.
in regards to death, there's one quote that stays in my mind. And from the day I heard this, I've never forgotten that. And the guy that wrote it is a guy named Banksy. Banksy. That's all it's ever quoted by. I don't know what his first name was, but it's an amazing quote. For me, it is. I don't know. But this quote says, "You die twice. One time when you stop breathing, and the second time a bit later on when somebody says your name for the last time." Think about that.
So leave a legacy.
Leave a legacy. And when I was 28 years old, I'm the history nerd. I'm the nerd for history. I was very cognizant at 28. When I was 28, I was working at Walmart. And I remember reading about Alexander the Great. You know what he did? What he had done by the time he was 28? Conquered the known world. And look at him. We still talk about him to this day. Right?
I don't know, man. I mean, my job, I employ people and I provide a service for others and so on and so forth. But I've lived most of my life feeling like I've never helped anyone.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to do through retirement, on top of living the best life I can live,
Yeah.
is I would like to contribute.
Yeah.
I tried to sign up with a charity. I'm not going to mention names, but I end up giving them the nickname Red Tape because they just wanted you to fill out tons of paperwork. And I have a lot of skills. I'm very, very handy. I'm a photographer. I've got an extensive water chemistry background. And when hurricanes hit poor islands, I could help.
Yeah.
And they had no interest in sending me anywhere where I could help. All they wanted to do was have me take classes online and donate money.
You know, it's funny.
And I'm not a religious person. I don't go to church. That's not my thing. So I'm not going to join mission groups to go to Zimbabwe and go to whatever because that's not what I want to do. And I would love to find something along the lines of the Peace Corps or what have you to go do
That's
to
why I'm
help
doing what I'm
others.
doing.
Yeah.
I was kind of inspired by somebody who went on these trips during not hurricane, it was like an earthquake, and an orthopedic group that went and did all these surgeries and everything else. I said, yeah, I'd like to go. I says, well, what, are you a nurse? No. Are you a tech? No. I mean, what really?
I met a kid in the Antigua airport who, Antigua and Barbuda are kind of the same, or are the same country. Barbuda got hit really bad by a hurricane, the same hurricane that wiped out Dominica and a lot of other places. And he was on a church mission group helping rebuild stuff. And I'd love to do that. But I can't interact with that church element. I mean, that's just not who I am. And I just, so I'd love to find something like that I could do.
I was going to go there. I think I know you're going. So two things about water. It's funny that you talk about water science. My buddy that was in college with, this guy I used to party a lot with, and he dropped out of college and joined the army and he went to Iraq. And his dad in Yuma was this water guy, studied water systems and all that. So my buddy, I'm gonna try to bring him on. Cool guy, Kevin, really cool guy. Kevin was doing like guard duty or something in the green zone, and he said he was
in the green zone
in Baghdad.
Okay.
It was like the green zone, the safe zone for Americans, right? And he's back in the heyday when snipers and all that stuff, and the war. And he says he's walking down the street there in Iraq. He looks across the street and he sees his dad. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah. He said his dad got a contracting job to go set up water systems in Iraq. And I was like, and I asked him at the time.
And he didn't know?
He didn't know.
He
didn't know.
Was he able to tell him or what?
Yeah, he said he went and grabbed his dad and they talked and all that. And I said, how real did it make it for you? Because here you are, you're in the middle.
In a war zone.
In a war zone. Explosions, improvised devices, explosions, all Americans dying. And you're in the middle of it because you're doing guard duties, MP and all this stuff. He's in the New Mexican National Guard. And you look across the street, and in the thick of the danger, there's your dad, a civilian, not trained for security or anything. He's there because he helped build the water systems. And he goes, yeah, it was kind of weird. So, going to what you're saying, Mr. Beast. So, he went to Kenya and he's pledged to build 1,000 water wells. Give fresh water to Africans living out in the country. Doing a legit good thing. He has a big YouTube, TikTok platform. Tons of money because his platform is so huge. But huge controversy behind it now because the Kenyan president came out that we're not dependent on handouts. And that wasn't really the controversy. The big controversy that came out was like, oh, we have a white male figure coming out here building wells and he's getting all the attention because he's this white guy. He's doing a good thing. And the president from Kenya, you don't need handouts, but you know what? You have somebody trying to do good on the world. Fresh water is probably the number one issue for most people living in the world. Give the guy credit for trying to do something good.
Yeah, he's gotten some heat from naysayers. It's like,
You can't like no. How's that saying go? No good goes unpunished.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no
like
good,
giving,
no good deed
it's like
goes
giving
unpunished.
free food to somebody and then you get critiqued because you gave them a plastic fork.
Yeah, come on.
It's food, you know. Oh well,
Yeah.
is that BHP free plastic fork?
And that straw you gave him is gonna kill a turtle.
And you know, like you think about kids in Africa, that you see the pictures of little babies with their bellies just
Yeah, starvation.
and because they have so many parasites and worms because they don't get free water. You know, this guy made a living on doing his YouTube and TikTok platform. Good for him for trying to change
Go
the
build a
world.
well.
Yeah, but yeah, Kevin and his dad. I'll never forget. I need to bring him on. We partied a lot. He missed his flight to go back home. I drove him all the way to Yuma the next day so he can go be with family for the holidays. Why did he miss his flight? Because we were out partying.
Yuma is one of those places that is stuck in my brain. When I was driving, I left San Diego to go to an account in Yuma. Never been to Yuma before. We drive.
Hotter than hell.
It was the middle of summer, and my shoes.
Jesus.
I don't know if you remember these. They were dress shoes. They had black Vibram sole.
Oh yeah, the
Remember
Vibram
those?
sole, yeah.
And the commercial was you could run a race with these black dress shoes, you know. So I was in
Oh my
sales. I
God.
was in and out. Was always around. Leather shoes never really worked well. So the bottom of them were, I don't know what brand they were, but they was black. The rubber, and it was when you had cell phones outside of the gas stations. I would burn myself on the black plastic of the handle of the cell phone to check my voicemail.
The phone booth. Or
The phone booth.
The phone booth.
The phones were hanging on the outside of all the
Oh my God.
7-Elevens, right? So you had to pick a 7-Eleven that had the phones in the shade.
Yeah.
And even when you were out there, it was so damn hot that you could literally cook an egg on the
Did you
sidewalk.
go to the Yuma Territorial Prison?
You know, many years
After?
since that, like recently, I've been back to Yuma, and it was more manageable. But back in those, I mean, this must have been 30 years ago. It was how did anybody survive out here?
Oh man, if you had a 10-year sentence in the Yuma
industrial
Territorial Prison, that was a life sentence.
Oh,
I was trying to think, what was the
10 years in that prison was a life sentence.
Wasn't it something like grapefruit or something? The major
yeah.
export?
It's seasonal, right?
Right.
Agricultural.
I thought it was just old people in RV.
Well, some people said it was upside down pineapples.
Oh.
Could have been.
Oh,
Oh,
bring that
talk about
circle
bring
back
it.
on.
You know, a good movie, like, to get you motivated, and, like, it got me thinking, they were thinking about this, like, what can we do to help these kids? There's a movie called Radical, and it's about, a teacher in Mexico so in Mexico for the longest time, everybody studied for the national exam called Enlace. It was like a standardized test, and that's how they measured all the schools in Mexico. And this guy
It determined what you could do.
determined what you can do. Yes.
Oh, it was like a
Yes.
placement.
No,
Yeah.
it was horrible.
It was a horrible test.
And they had it in Latin America and Japan.
And so they don't do it now, but
It's
it
a
was
national
a big
standardized test.
Enlace.
What university you could go to, what
Everything.
degree you could study, depending on what you. It's like having
Yeah.
your credit score tied to you and determining
Your whole
where
life.
your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your whole life. Based on this school exam.
That's almost like a communist type.
Almost like a communist
Yeah.
type thing. So this teacher in Mexico, this movie is called Radical, and the main actor, what's his name? It's I'll have to look it up right now. It's a famous Mexican actor right now, and
It wasn't that weather girl from the
no, it's
just
actually a guy.
Telemundo.
No, it's a guy.
Those weather girls.
Yeah, oh man.
In Latin America or Colombia, the
Oh
weather
my
girls.
God.
Oh my god!
I remember when I was in Panama, we watched the weather every day.
It's like in the back page of the neudspaper
Oh,
that people would get for
Oh my
going
god.
to the.
The actor's
Like
name
the
is
British B girls,
Oh
you know?
my
Yeah.
God.
Eugenio Derbez. He's kind of a big Mexican
Okay.
actor.
Okay.
But he plays this teacher that got fed up with schools, and he goes to Matamoros to like the poor school. It's like the school you get sent to when you're in trouble.
Like stand up and deliver,
Yeah.
where they do well and then
Yeah.
they get questioned whether
And-
they were cheating.
He wants to create an environment where the kids want to learn about something and learn how to think, and and how he's trying to change kids' lives. And he got in a lot of trouble for it. He sold his car to buy a laptop so he can get his kids on the internet and all that stuff. And it's a really cool movie. It's all in Spanish, but they have the English subtitles. And out of his class that year, his class scored the highest on the Apophis exam ever. And the girl from his test, she scored the highest on that exam out of all of Mexico from his class.
Yeah.
And she actually got like scholarships to go to, like people pay for her to go to like the really advanced schools because she's like a genius level girl.
So here's the thing, you know, when you start, you know, I never really thought about this before, but this is where privilege and being able to study, it was like the higher economic levels
Mhm.
of families where the children didn't have to go to work,
Right.
where they actually were able to have tutors and study and go to better schools, and they have a better environment where they were not where they were able to focus on one thing, which was passing
Made
this
a
test.
difference. You don't have to
It
worry
made the
about
difference in
working.
their life.
Yeah.
But but the people who had to go work every day to support the family, the people who were on farms, the people that didn't have access to education, they didn't have a way to improve or to have the privilege, right, to go to college or
So
university.
what's curious about this movie, there's a little girl in there, and he opens her eyes about like philosophy and all this stuff. And she's talking to her mom about how she wants to study philosophy, wants to be a professor one day or something. And the mom's like, what are you talking about? She goes, I'm pregnant. And this little girl's like, she talks about this like with the class, like maybe there should be more contraceptives. Maybe there should be a dual abortion that would be good for in times when it would be good for everybody. Because she's like, my mom's gonna have this kid, and I have to drop out of school because my mom's gonna go to work, my dad's gonna go to work. I've got to take care of the babies. I have to stop. She had to stop going to school to take care of the.
Generational
Yeah,
poverty.
yeah. There's something. Okay, so my lady friend came from Mexico. This is something we talked about. A buddy of mine. He does acupuncture in El Paso. Black turtle acupuncture, amazing. He traveled to like India, China, learning all these like I don't know what kind of treatments you call them, you do acupuncture and all that stuff. I can't think of the name of it. But he's telling her, he goes, this is the United States. Shiatsu. Well, like holistic though.
Yeah.
So he's telling her, this is the United States. If you work, you can do something and you can become something. He goes, it's not like Mexico. In Mexico, if you don't have the money and you don't have the name, you will never get out of your class level, no matter how hard you work. The same class level your parents is in will be the same class level you're in. Your siblings, your kids will remain at that same class because you don't have the name, the political connections, or the money. And that's just the way life it is from all of Central America to South America. I mean, it's not like 1800 slavery and you know.
If you're not the business owner,
Yeah.
or the plantation owner,
Yeah.
you're screwed.
But it still exists today in the sense that, you know, this day and age, yeah, you'll live good. You'll make money, you can probably buy a home or something, but your family generationally is stuck in this class. And he was telling her, like, this is the United States. If you work hard, make a business, study or do something, you have the chance to climb this ladder and make something of yourself. Does not exist anywhere else. At all. Mexico, South America, doesn't exist. But it does here. And you can do it.
That's
And
what he told her?
that's what he told her. It kind of made an impression on her, and she was just like thinking about that. And he's like, you're gonna do something like make nails, do nails. That's fine. You can make good money doing that. You can open up a salon. You can open up a couple of them over time. But you can do it here. In Mexico, you'll never escape your life that you have there. You'll get married. You'll get have kids. You'll have a family, get a house and all that. But you're stuck there. Why? That's the way it is down there. This is the United States. This is the land of opportunity, and you can make it here. And kind of going back to this whole immigration thing I've talked to a lot of people about. Don't blame people for coming across the border right now.
Yeah.
Don't blame people for trying to make it. Why? You have a shot at life. Are you gonna work 5 days a week, 12-hour shifts for $120 a week? Because if you do the same work here in the United States, you'll make some good money. But it exists here. And so yeah, so people come here for a reason. You know, Guatemala, the country Guatemala, you know where the majority of their money comes from, their gross import product is money sent back to Guatemala from expatriates that live in the United States.
Wow.
The majority of the money from Guatemala comes from the United States, from their families sending money back.
So I bring it up from time to time. I had a buddy that was from Panama, and he had a buddy, and I'm Facebook friends with him. He had a buddy named Jorge, and they went to the same school together. But Jorge's family was poor, and they paid scrimped and saved to send Jorge to this school that David went to because his family had money. But his parents didn't want him hanging out with Jorge because Jorge wasn't a good enough class of people for him to hang out with.
Great, curious.
And you know, and I view people as who they are, not
Right.
as a person, not who they are as a family.
Right.
As a family, and try not to be judgmental, and work really hard to not be judgmental.
Right.
And it just really, it's like, really, your parents didn't want.
might find that
but his
hard.
dad was from New Jersey.
There's
you
two
know?
segues from that. There's two segues from that. So,
Now his family lived a couple blocks away from Noriega back in the day.
wow.
I mean,
So-
so they lived in a really nice neighborhood.
So it's funny because I could tie this into two different things. So TikTok, you know, TikTok in the United States, people do the live thing. You give them gifts and they make money off that. They go on live and they sell stuff on TikTok. In Mexico, you can't do that.
Why?
Don't know. So the deal with Mexico is, if you don't pay off the people when you're putting your business down there, they don't give you permission. They don't care that you're going to give people work. They don't care about the product or the opportunity. You have, like if you're a foreign entity coming to Mexico to put a business in, what's in it for the politicians and the people in power? If they don't get their piece of the pie, you're not putting your business in there. So I wonder if with like TikTok, they're like, screw you, we're not going to pay you anything. So yeah, they have access to TikTok, but they don't have access to make money off TikTok. Like people here in the United States make money on TikTok.
On a Patreon?
Gary from the dive shop in San Carlos. He was telling me a story about a guy who ran a liveaboard.
You have to talk into the mic.
Liverboard. I thought it was too loud. I'm sorry. I kept pushing it away. He talks about a guy.
I should do all your dates.
Yeah. They get pushed away. Yeah, a guy who had a liveaboard charter service, you know, for diving and stuff, and he worked with Gary, and Gary did his tanks, and he'd help him out and stuff. Well, the guy decided that he would make more money in La Paz doing it, so he moved across to see Cortez to go to La Paz.
Yeah.
Well, there was another operation that was Mexican owned. This guy was U.S. owned. That was Mexican owned, doing the same thing,
Oh, boy.
and they turned him in.
Wow.
They confiscated his boat, and they held his boat long enough until it was deteriorated enough to where it was $1 million piece of shit.
Jeez.
Wow.
And so when it comes to Mexico, yeah, it's all about.
Pay the fines.
It's
Pay
all
the-
the
What is it?
what's the
Pay
word? What's the
La
word?
mordida.
The
La
mordida. The mordida.
So the second segue I was going to where what you were saying was, the United States, and this is probably the thing, and it's kind of a controversial thing, I guess, like in terms of Black Lives Matter and all that. So trying to create special laws for people of color, people of different everything, like, you know, whether it's LGBTQI, whatever, whether it's Black Lives Matters or everything like that.
Any minority group?
Minority group. So when you start giving minority groups special laws and special privileges, you're going backwards. Because we came to a point in our country where you are being judged. You have the ability to be judged by your character and what you do, and no longer by the color of your skin, your race, or your creed. And a lot of people fought and died to get to the United States to this point, and now you have people saying like, well, we're a minority and we're
It's
not
by
privileged.
merit. It's by merit. Merit.
Right.
So here, go ahead.
No.
I have a point to add to that.
So, but here we are to this point where people are like trying to go backwards to get special privileges, kind of in the face of these people that earned the right for you to be, doesn't matter what color, who you are, your religion, background, you will now be judged by merit and by your character and not by any of these other features.
You know, the people always say, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
To some extent, okay.
Yeah.
But,
Small
but
town,
it
maybe.
shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't be that
business,
way.
it should be based. It shouldn't be that way. It should be based on, I'll hire the best candidate that
Yes.
meets the criteria, right? That's who I want to build my plane. I don't want somebody who is my buddy who's going to build a plane and then is going to
Like Rob
make it
Schneider
crash.
says in his joke. Rob Schneider came out a week ago, like a month ago or so. He doing a stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
and he talks about, I think, American
Oh
Airlines.
yeah, with American
And he
Airlines.
says, so American
Are you
Airlines,
talking
Our
Bo
quota.
too?
our quota, he says, we're not gonna no longer hire the best pilots.
We're gonna get the minority pilots.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're good, so long as you're a minority. I mean,
We're gonna hit that affirmative action
yeah,
button.
That's
doesn't,
it. That's
doesn't
what
matter
we-
that you can land the plane safely,
Right.
so long as you're Mexican.
Okay, so I get it. If everybody scores a 10,
Yeah,
well, from that pool of 10,
Yeah.
let them be my pilot.
sure.
But don't go down to 8 and 7, right?
Especially with a tube flying through the
Right.
sky.
So here's the thing. But so many people to this day are still used to the. Well, who do you know over there?
Mhm.
Who do you know over there that can grease the
That
skids?
is Lost Christmas.
That is certain.
That
certain
is
content.
that is Lost
So-
Christmas.
So I have a personal experience of people from outside the country
Mhm.
saying, not understanding the scope of how things are done in the U.S. That, hey, do you know this guy for a job for my son?
Yeah.
I go, it doesn't work that
It
way.
doesn't work that way.
You know, or hey, they got in trouble while they were here. Can you go talk to? No, it doesn't work that way. They're gonna have to deal with the consequences of their actions
Yeah,
and to go through the court system.
that's right.
You know,
it's-
you
it's
better
curious.
get a lawyer. It's
when
not
when
you
I'm
can't just go.
hiring people
Yeah.
for positions, and somebody thinks they're going to be a shoo-in, and I always tell all the applicants, like even if I know them really well, it's like,
Yeah.
turn in your application and we'll look at
Yes,
it. And
that's
and
the first step.
that's the first step. And if they're not
What
willing,
percent don't
if
do
they're
that?
not even willing to do that,
Yes.
they're not even a candidate. Even if I
No.
think they would be a good
Yes.
manager, if they're not willing to do that first step, what does
Yes.
that say? Yeah, I do know you, but you know what? I want you to come interview with so and so. Turn in your application. We'll give you a call. They don't do that. I'm sorry. All bets are off because this is a business and we're looking for good candidates. Doesn't matter that we're friends. That I think you might have a good history or something. You have to go through the process.
Oh my God! And it's such a small-minded.
But
It's such a
but
small
at the,
mindset.
at the same token, it's what's called a warm door. They go to him.
Yeah,
Hey,
warm handoff.
you know, and if
There's
the
nothing wrong with that.
if the guy goes through the steps and he goes through the steps and him and Bob are equal candidates, and Mark comes along and says, you know what, I know this guy. That guy's got the job.
Yeah.
It's a warm door.
Yeah.
There's no, you know, and there's nothing wrong. Maybe there is something wrong with the warm door
No,
theory,
there
but
isn't. If
but-
I have 2 stacks of resumes, I'd rather pull the stack. I'd rather pull a resume from the stack of resumes that came from referred candidates, people that I know that referred them.
But they did the first step and they said, okay, I'm gonna apply to you.
At least I got a resume,
That's right.
right?
Right. I'm looking for this.
I've had customers call me up and say, hey, my kid's looking for a job. And this is a classic, the ex-chief of police in Las Cruces calls me up and we're kind of friends. Hey, my kid's looking for a job. It's like, okay, well, here's how this works, Ron. Your kid's going to come work for me. At some point, it's not going to work out. Are you going to promise we're still going to be friends when this is said and done? Because this shit never works out.
Right.
At some point,
I'm
I'm gonna fire
him.
him or he's gonna quit.
Yep.
That's just the way life is. Are we gonna still be friends? Yes. So when his kid quit and he stirred up a big turd and the whole 9 yards, what did Ron do? He called up and he canceled his service. And then my office girl said, I remember the conversation Mark had with you when he hired your son, that you guys were going to stay friends. Because this stuff never works out.
Right.
What did she say to her?
He's still my customer.
Oh, so he
And
uncanceled it, or
no, he's okay, yep, that's fair.
So
That's fair. And he calls me up every now and then when he needs help with something stupid.
Yeah.
And he had, a plumber out there that's a notorious, not a reputable place. Run a stake through his house and blow through a sewer line, and they had to rip out his shower floor and stuff.
I remember. I'm so sorry. I remember going to. Must have been 30 years ago, when the sales reps would go to. It was either Chrysler, Ford, General Motors. I was in Detroit, out in Michigan, and we were a supplier. I was working for a chemical company that was a supplier to one of the automotive. I mean, they were all automotive. They would hire the kid of the plant manager to be the sales rep.
yeah.
And then, well, what do you know about this? Blah, blah, blah. That's my dad. And so through the unions, so we'd walk in and he was like God, because everybody would know the kid, right?
Yeah.
And that was the relationship that they had to sell. And then they'd bring in a bottle of whiskey. They'd have dinners. They'd have this, that, the other. That's how our automotive industry went to crap. It wasn't based on whiskey. It wasn't based on quality. It was based on the
Good old boy.
Good old boys.
Yes.
That's the negative side of the warm.
Right.
The negative side of war,
Right.
Doors is good old boy syndrome.
And then you don't improve, and
The
then
unions killed the auto industry in Detroit. Killed it.
But the side thing of that is I had a guy that his wife was unhappy with the service my competitor was providing and called us up and we set them up. And we took care of their house. And then we got all of their banks. I didn't know what it was. And then they had some other equipment malfunction. And I go to his house and I talk to the guy. And I said, well, this is what we can do. And he says, okay. And yeah, I'll do that. I want them working. I said, one. Hands me his business card. And he's the president of a bank.
wow.
And it's like, ding, it all clicked. Where all this work came from.
Yeah.
And he goes, if you ever need any money, let me know.
Wow.
And he would text me, hey, when is my delivery? When can I have this done? And you don't text me that, you call my office. And so I needed to borrow money one time. I text him, hey, I need to borrow money. He says, we back, call this person, I'll give him a call.
Wow.
And it was like, boom, 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 boom. I went from not owing anybody money, but except for my Jeep, to owing him a couple $100,000. Because I bought a house and some other stuff. And at one point I told him, man, when I met you, I didn't owe anybody anything. I owed like $20,000. What was left on my Jeep? And he was like, well, wouldn't you rather have my hands in your pocket than anybody else? But that guy had become a great friend, and he became a valuable asset. And he was my go-to guy when you bought your motorcycle.
Yeah.
He was my go-to guy.
Wow.
And yeah, it was.
That's cool.
It's just that is Las Cruces. That's that small town thing. And I mean, you benefit from it, you suffer from it, but you benefit from it too.
Right. It's a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword.
We're talking about judging people by their character, not the color of skin. So about last week, I've been listening to this podcast a long time, but I saw on my Apple podcast that there's some new episodes, and it's a historian that does podcasting. Really good podcast. They're like 3-4 hours long per episode.
Wow.
But they're amazing, and he reads these books and he's citing first-person sources, and his stuff's amazing. He did like a 4 or 5 part series on World War One, on the first 90 days of World War One.
Wow.
I mean, he did two parts, 2 series on Genghis Khan, and each series was about 4 episodes, and each episode was about 4 or 5 hours long.
Jeez.
Amazing.
The amount of content to be able to be a master.
He's a historian and he does a lot of political stuff. But
What's his name?
Dan Carlin, and his podcast is called Hardcore History.
If you get a minute or so, send me the link to that.
I will.
Or send me his name and I'll.
If you're kind of interested in history,
I'm very
he
interested
just draws
in
you in,
history.
And I'll tell you,
Like
Scoth,
I'll sit and read Stephen Ambrose all day long.
he did the first three series I watched. One of them was called The Punic Nightmares, about the fall of the Roman Empire, and then the other one was the Ostfront, which was the World War One on the Russian front, or World War Two on the Russian front. Death Throes of the Republic, The Wrath of the Khans. I mean, his series are amazing. He does one episode, and he won't do another episode till like 7 months later after he's read all the
Because
books.
he's done research.
I mean, they're good. Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. And just by accident or randomly, I came across it again because I hadn't watched it in a while. And he did one called Blitz, Human Resources. Human Resources.
During the Blitz.
No,
modern day human resource.
no,
Human resource.
about slavery. In the first slavery uprising that kind of started the domino effect in Haiti. Now you think of Haiti right now, Haiti's a mess, the gangs and all that, but he tells the history of slavery in Haiti.
That was Hispania back then.
It was Hispania back then, and it was a French colony. I didn't realize it was a French colony.
Yeah.
First of all, 5 hours and 39 minutes long,
Wow.
and it took me about 3 days to listen to it. And once I started listening to it, I didn't want to stop it. And
I want what podcast app are you using?
Hardcore History.
What podcast app are
That's
you using?
hardcore. Put me to sleep at night.
Dude, but you don't fall asleep because you want to listen to what's going to happen. I was listening to the iPod, the Apple one.
Well, I don't
But you can look up on any of them. And he has a website called Hard. So he sells they're free on YouTube and on any of the podcasts. But he always asks you to go to his website and buy them. And on his website, when you buy them, like $2 a piece. He goes, you only want to spend $1? Go ahead online and buy them. So I tried buying them online. But
That's what's crazy with the global economy.
yeah.
We were talking back.
Oh, yeah, he's on
30,
Amazon.
20 years. The economists of the world is flat, and the global economy. Nobody envisioned the global economy of the internet.
The way it would everything now. Everything.
Oh my god!
So,
I just want $1. $1.
$1.
But there's millions of subscribers
$1
from all
people.
over the world.
Yeah. So hopefully he's doing good. He got called. He was talking about this on one of his interviews. He got called to like a Senate subcommittee secret meeting in like Iraq. And why did they call him? Because he's like a historian and all that stuff. And he's like, and I showed up and they had a car pick me up and they take me here and the credentials and I show up and I'm like, what am I doing here? And they're like, well, we need like civilian, non-governmental input. And he's like, and here I'm at this big wig meeting about the Persian Gulf War or something. Anyways, he did one called the Blitz, called Human Resources, and it talks about like Haiti and how crazy the war was. And I was listening to it at the gym, and I kept on stopping to work out just to listen to it. How bad, like once the Haitians rebelled against the landowners, and it was a French colony. So France kept on sending 20,000, 30,000 people there, and they would all die of disease, and they couldn't fight the Haitians because the Haitians, they were fighting guerrilla tactics in the mountains and all that. And he talks about
It's 5 hours and 39 minutes.
It's amazing.
Where'd you find that?
On YouTube.
YouTube. It's amazing though. And so I can't remember
What's the name of it?
Hardcore History.
Send me the link.
The Blitz.
The Blitz.
Human resources.
So, human resources. So he's talking. So I'll give you an idea. France during Napoleon, they gave Haitians the right to freedom, but they wanted to take it back and make them slaves again. So he's talking about they send this famous general. I can't think of his name right now, to go conquer the Haitians again. And they. So get this. He's saying like this French general goes. They're trying to find the Haitians, and they come across a field.
They come across what?
A field.
And he says, and they come across a field, and there's all these soldiers and the general there, and he says, and what do they see? They see hands coming out of the ground. Thousands of hands. So either they cut the hands off of the landowners and they stuck them on the ground, sticking up,
Or they buried
or
him.
they buried them alive. But he says, imagine the impact that you come across this and you see, for as far as you can see, just hands on the ground, just sticking up where they put them.
Dang.
And then he says, so they go to this one general goes back to his plantation in Haiti, and he goes in there and he's checking his house. Most of the house is ruined, is burned, but the library was untouched. He had all these novels in there and all these philosophies and books, and his library is intact. And on his desk is a book by a French philosopher that talks about slavery. And he says it's open to one page in particular, that if we don't stop what we're doing now, the slaves are going to uprise and demand the rights that we give to each other. On his desk, how he walked in and he saw that, and he says he was reading this because this general wrote in his diary, and he says he's reading it. Imagine the impact that you go in and you see that, and it's you're a French general, and it's a French philosopher that talked about exactly what's happening now. And he talks about like when the Haitians, when they started their uprising, they turned on everybody and they killed everybody, raped all the women. They built a gallows. We're talking about this guy in the gallows, and he says they were hanging people every 15 minutes, and so they would hang somebody and then they'd kill that person, and then you're next, and they made you wait 15 minutes knowing that your time was up next. And then while you're going to the gallows, they would whip you, they would beat you, they would hit you with a machete, and you were half dead, and you were on the gallows, and they'd hang you, and then the next person, and then the next person.
It's like the French Revolution.
Yeah, and then that all happened during the time of the French Revolution. And he's talking about the French, then you have the British. The British and French are fighting against each other. So half the British are kind of like, well, we don't have slavery in our colonies, but this Haitian uprising is good for us because it's taking resources from the French. So we're kind of giving the Haitians guns and arming them, but we're very careful about it because we don't want this to spread to the Americas. And so how the British are very subtly supporting it, but at the very end of it, the French, when the French leave Haiti, and they're begging the British, come pick us up. They're on the British ships because the Haitians were just killing everybody. They couldn't subdue the Haitians no more. And it's funny because I'm thinking about what's going on in Haiti right now, the gangs, the violence. The Haitians have been fighting brutally hundreds of years.
Ever since then.
And the British have been acting like a passive since then. That's where pirateers came. You had letters that allowed you to be a pirate, to go raid Spanish ships.
Pirateering.
Legal
pirateering.
Yeah.
So, do you know where the word slavery comes from?
Where's the word slavery come from?
I mean, because you think slavery, you think the African slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade, and all that. Where does the word slavery come from?
I don't know.
Slavery, sub-root of that is slave. What's the root word of slavery? Slave.
Slavic.
Because back in the day,
Yugoslavia?
you're talking about the steppes of Mongolia and all that, you know what I mean? So you're talking about the Slavish people, so many of them were thrusted into slavery. When you said slave, you were talking about actually that white part of like Eurasia, white people going to slavery. The word slave comes from Slavic people that were thrusted into slavery. Like,
From the north.
no, from like Eurasia.
Okay.
Eurasia. So it wasn't even like an African word.
What? So the slaves in Haiti were like doing
Africa.
crops?
They brought the African slaves over to grow sugar cane.
Sugarcane, because sugarcane. Okay, so they grew up in right? So, was curious. I talked to her during Christmas. I had the opportunity to talk to her grandfather, old man, kind of Spanish where you could barely understand it, missing teeth and all that. He was drinking tequila. It's Christmas Eve and all that. So he's telling me like down in Mexico, he used to go like from farm working on farms. He used to work sugarcane farms. And he says, oh yeah, I go work the sugarcane. The first thing you do is you set all the sugarcane on fire. Burns off all the husks. The sugar doesn't burn. And then after all the husk and all the leaves and all that stuff burns off, then you go in and you go chop off all the sugarcane and you start stacking it, and he goes, you come home, black. top to bottom.
Because it's all.
It's all ash. And he says that's what he did his whole life was work sugarcane. Traveling all of Mexico from farm to farm, going sugarcane to sugarcane. Saying how, telling me how rough it was doing that and how
No kidding.
his kids and their kids, how they didn't want anything to do with it.
What option did they have?
But if they were out there, he came from Doble or something like that. And so just how crazy working sugarcane because it was a very manual, very dirty work.
So
I mean,
there's a lot
and
of
like
other
when I was in
habits.
Antigua, we toured all the old sugarcane plantations
Yeah.
where they were milling it, and it's beautiful and it's very picturesque. And I'm a photographer,
It's
so
beautiful and picturesque
now it's even in Bon Air. When we were in Bon Air, the slaves were used for the salt mines in Bon Air, and they had the slave huts. And I've got some really great pictures of the slave huts. But man, sticking your heads in those slave
talk
huts,
about mines.
man, that hurts.
You know what the Romans did to you? If they give you a death penalty, you work the silver mines. If they sent you to work the silver mines, I remember Ben-Hur. If you worked the
Done.
silver mines, that was it. You were done. You did not come back from that. That was a death
Yeah,
sentence.
why waste labor, a horsepower?
Yeah,
Send them to the mines.
send them to the mines.
The death penalty is just
The mines
it's
are the same.
They shouldn't be doing the death penalty. They should just send people to the mines.
Yeah, and if that doesn't change your heart when working that kind of labor, but
Imagine.
Dan Carlin, this one called Human Resources, it blew my mind listening to it. I mean, I was like, wow. And there's a couple of books he referenced. I'm buying one because during the Great Depression in the United States, there was a lot of government projects put to people to work, and there was one book he referenced where people were sent out to go interview former slaves that were still alive. By that point, in the 1920s-ish, or teens, not the 1915s.
Well,
and all that.
1920s, 1930s,
Yeah,
it was
the Great
like the
Depression,
WPA.
the CCP and all that. He
CCP.
said they were interviewing all the old slaves that were still alive, and there was a book he referenced in
Why were they why was that a government project?
Have I
Put
ever
people to
taken
work.
you out to Spring Canyon and stuff behind Picacho Peak? There's a dam back there that was built by the CCP.
You
Just
The
said,
like-
dam, the water dam network by my house, that was all CCP.
Just like the one up in Elephant Butte.
Yeah.
so
Those
one
little cabins there.
of the
We need to
books.
go. We need to go metal detecting out where those little cabins are.
So one of the books that came out of that time is called Freedom in My Voice: Voices from the United States National Slavery Museum, and it's a book, first-person accounts and interviews that were former slaves, and these people during the Great Depression, finding them work, they were from work, they would go interview these slaves of what they went through when they were slaves. And like in the 1920s, they're free now, but
Yeah.
they were kids in the 1800s. Like hearing the stories that they said, and he referenced this book too. Dan Carlin references. He goes, "You read this, and you're just like, what the hell?" So yeah, so I just ordered that book. I'm really curious now. It's like $4 on eBay, but
Where was this picture taken?
N Company, 3rd Battalion, 2nd Infantry. I
Camp
don't know what TR Regiment, TC number 2, Camp Pendleton,
Pendleton.
California, January 16th, 1957.
You can do a Google Earth search and look at the land.
There's like an old car on here, 1950s car right back there.
Camp Pendleton. I used to drive through there when I go from San Diego
Yeah.
to LA.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Old man young 18-year-old getting ready to ship to Korea because he didn't want to go to war.
Camp Pendleton, right there. It's right in between San Diego and LA.
Yeah.
County,
Go for it.
Yeah. Like, isn't it funny? There's just so much history all around. All you have to do is just dig a little bit below the surface. Whether we're talking about people and being judged by your character, and you start thinking about the path of minorities to get where we are now.
Well, just going from World War II,
World War
ending
II.
in 1945, and then what year was that? 57.
57.
Not even 20 years later,
My,
they're in
A
Korea.
major
my great grandparents
Vietnam was right after that.
during the First World War, Poland was invading Latvia.
So Dan Carlin does a really good
And
part on World War I.
They took all of the jewelry and everything they could to cash it in to buy steamship tickets to the U.S.
Get the hell out of
They
here.
went through Ellis Island,
So,
and
Latvia.
they.
What country is Latvia?
That's like North
it's
Europe.
like a Slavic.
Is
Yeah.
it still called
I-
Latvia?
It was part of the Soviet Union at one
Like
time.
Lithuania.
Latvia, yeah.
That's like where Poland and all that is, North Europe.
And the Polish army was invading, and they ran away from the Polish army.
So the
And-
Polish army were communists with
No.
Russia? No.
The Polish army fought for their independence, and they were trying to fight the Russians because the Russians had like a historic claim to Poland to conquer them. Poland were fighting them. The Latvians are all. It's kind of a bunch of old hundreds of years ago, old principalities and kingdoms.
See, that's why they had Carlin at the national security meeting, because
You know.
if you need the history to
Yeah,
the
it wasn't.
same mistakes.
It wasn't George Carlin.
Okay, so same mistakes, and it's funny. Like, so we're talking about World War One, and listen, like I say, listen to that Dan Carlin one about World War One, about like the first 90 days of people rushing to join the army to go fight, and you think, why would anybody do that? Like, go fight, run to go fight for country, for a war of old men that were bickering against each other, right? That's what World War One was, like old kings and queens and family problems, and they sent everybody to go
You know why
fight.
they did that then? Because they didn't have the video games at home, so they
But
leave
still,
their house.
no.
Because
But
they
here's,
had pride
here's what's
for who they
stupid
were.
about this. Here's what's stupid. You would think this day and age that would never happen again.
That would never
What,
happen again.
what the hell is
Bullshit.
happening in Russia and Ukraine?
What the hell is happening in Texas?
No, you
Jesus Christ!
But
no,
you-
what? No. More so Russia.
More so
people,
Russia.
People don't even want to go to war, but they're being called up and they're mindlessly going to war, and they're being chewed up in the meat grinder of Ukrainian and Russian war.
None.
Young kids.
Yeah, and people
And
of,
people
of
are
fighting age and fighting gender can't leave the country.
and this day and age that we're educated, we're connected. You think people like, let's do something about this. Like, let's overthrow Putin and say we don't want to fight or whatever.
How are you going to do that? How are you going to overthrow Putin? How are you going to do that?
I don't know, but like,
He
at
just
one-
came out. I just saw a feed about him ready to use nuclear weapons.
yeah, he just came out. He told the West he's ready to go to a nuclear war.
If
Really?
pushed, you know.
Really? And so, at what point are the Russian people be like, dude, we don't want to do this no more. We want our McDonald's. We want Starbucks. We want the life we had before. Now you're sending us off to fucking die.
Well, think Ronald Reagan for that. I mean, Ronald Reagan's what
Jeez.
broke the bank on Russia and got the McDonald's and KFC.
But
and,
it's like Russia's doing the same thing to us. That I mean, part of the problem is we're bankrolling Ukraine, and it's an expensive war because technology is expensive. And I mean,
Yeah.
they're trying to do a $9 million or $9 billion aid package to buy more stuff for Ukraine. And yeah, politicians don't want to sign off on it because we have problems here, but we've been supporting them up to this point. So why are we gonna turn tails and run on them
No,
now?
you gotta keep it. It's gonna be.
We can't turn on them now. We've been supporting them.
They can't allow Russia to have Ukraine.
You can't allow that. You can't allow that. But at what point, it's like these kids in Russia. At what point do they say like we're done with this?
They can't.
That's-
They can't.
They're, because they've got the guy with the 45 right behind them
but
saying
it's the
move
same.
forward.
It's the same thing that happened in World War One. The same thing that happened in World War Two. It's the like talk about history repeating itself. It is a classic case of history repeating itself, and it's stupid. It's I mean that's just the only thing I can say about it. It's stupid. We're supposed to be better than that. We're supposed to be smarter.
But we sit back here in the United States and we have politics that are run like team sports.
Oh, politics here.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I mean,
Immigration.
that's
Immigration.
Even the current.
Like
And I'm not trying to take sides on
Right.
on
No,
the
yeah, I get
next
it.
presidential
yeah,
election.
I get it.
But it's freaking team sports. The Steelers can kick the Cowboys out.
Absolutely.
And what it comes down to, and it's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
It's not. It has nothing to do with who's better. It's whose
What's
team I
better
like.
for our country? What's better
It
for our
has nothing to
future?
do with that. It's what team.
Oh my
This is
God.
my team, and I like this team.
Like
And-
the whole immigration
and-
thing is
and-
bad politics.
and we-
It's bad politics.
We have a pretty liberal friend, and he mentioned to me the other day, oh well, those people, they have that store at their house and da 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 da. I won't go there because they're Trump thumpers. And I was like, you know
Shut the
what?
hell up.
I know those people really well. They're really, really nice people, Henry. and they're just, you know, they're good people. I don't have to agree with their politics. I refuse to allow myself to do business with somebody based on their political beliefs or their religious beliefs. It's who they are as a person. Are they good people?
Right.
Yes, they're good people.
And
do I agree with them politically? I don't have to.
And you know what?
I don't have to.
I don't even have a choice.
You know what I've said? I've said this all along about Trump. Let me just throw this out there. You know what I tell people is like, you know what? Yeah, Trump was a loudmouth and he says stupid stuff sometimes when he's on social media, on the news, whatever. But the reality of it is, the economy during the Trump administration was a hell of a lot better than it is now. When I was paying $35, $40 for a bag of groceries versus $90 for the same bag of groceries, what the hell?
Come on, it's. I just bought a bag of jelly beans. It's half the size of what it used to be.
What?
For
Right.
my money.
For my money.
I stopped at what's the sandwich shop on Loman? JJ's Deli or whatever.
Jersey Mike's.
Not Jersey Mike's. We don't have a Jersey Mike's. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, I know the
Yeah.
So
Subway sandwich.
I just got the sandwich.
Yeah.
I didn't get a drink. I didn't get a bag of chips. It was $11 for a
Five
freaking. For a
Five Guys is
freaking.
like 20 some odd dollars for a burger.
I stopped the other day at Chick-fil-A. $17.
And what is the current POTUS doing? President of the United States. What is he doing? He's trying to get like open wood stoves outlawed. He's trying to get like certain like utilities outlawed. Why? What's the point? And here's the reality with green energy. We don't have the infrastructure for green energy. Why are you trying to force it down our throats?
Did the governor of New Mexico make a mandate that if we're going electric vehicles? It's like, you can't drive in the countryside.
What happened last winter though? Last winter with that big freeze
In Texas.
The cars, they got
Couldn't
so
get
cold,
anywhere.
the batteries drained.
It wasn't the batteries. You couldn't. The power lines dropped. You couldn't charge
Oh, you couldn't
them.
charge them.
This is a state that you can't pass emissions laws in because 50% of the people won't be able to drive their cars.
You know what it is?
You know?
80% of New Mexicans are on some form of state Medicaid. They can't afford to buy a car that is
An electric car.
Electric car.
Force them to buy an electric car so that they can. Wait a minute. Oh, you need a truck because you need to haul stuff, right?
Right.
Okay, so
Only electric truck out there is Tesla.
no, there's the Ford, the Ford, that, but they're all. Who's gonna buy that shit?
And, you know, my kid and I had a thing about me and my delivery trucks.
Three
And
times
if
as
they were
expensive.
delivery, if I put in solar arrays and went all electric on trucks, I could probably do 75% of what we do on electric power. Okay. Yeah.
What's how many miles would you be driving a day?
In Las Cruces, probably about 50 to 70. In El Paso,
And we're not a big
125.
city either. We are not
But
a
you,
big city.
but you're
Drive to Ruidoso and see where you can charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're the big state that's open country, and most of it's rural.
I'm not gonna spend.
It's not gonna happen.
I'm not gonna spend 10 hours on a 110 to plug in my car.
But then again, on the other side of the coin, if you have the financial infrastructure to put a solar system on your house, and you have a gasoline powered vehicle, and you want to buy an electric powered vehicle to just run around town and fill up that electric bank for free every day,
Yeah.
fucking A, do it.
Go
Do it.
ahead.
And I am the original car guy. You have no idea how many race car motors I've built in my day.
You know that's funny you say that. 'Cause
And
part of the problem with electric cars, and I think with America, I think Americans, we grew up tinkering with cars. We want to tinker with our cars, and I think a lot of people don't make that transition because once you go electric, you can't tinker. You can't put the 4-barrel Holley carburetor anymore.
yeah, you're not gonna put you're not gonna put a roller stick in that. You're
No.
not. Yeah. It ain't gonna
No,
happen.
and it makes you. It makes you a lazy driver.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids driving my electric car because it'll tell you when the light turns green.
Yeah.
You're not paying attention anymore. You're not driving.
The other day, Dario and I were going to El Paso, and this Tesla wasn't letting me in. I was like, that fucker's not letting me in. And
Like the car wouldn't let you in?
And Dario's all, no, it's not the driver that's not letting you in. It's the car that's not letting you in.
It's on auto drive.
He's on auto drive. And it dawned on me because I've ridden his Tesla enough time that I realized that, yeah, he's right. It's not the guy driving the Tesla, but you know what?
It's keeping the sonar is keeping the vehicle at a steady
at a
place in the vehicle in front of you.
And
unless
the guy
he drives in the way, then the car will back off.
And you can adjust how close you drive and so on. And the guy driving the car knows that if he adjusts it far enough back where he's at a super safe distance, everybody's going to be cutting him off, and he's going to be stacked up behind everybody.
Wow.
So he knows he's got to keep it in at the tightest setting. Okay,
wow.
That makes sense. I ended up pulling in front of him and saying bad words, but you know
we had this.
And then when we could,
ones. Do you remember that debate about energy?
Yeah.
Green energy is great. If we could go 100% right now, that'd be great. But we're not there yet. I fully don't believe, and I don't know how you feel about this. I don't believe our current green energy policy is the next energy that's going to take us into the future.
Hydrogen. It's hydrogen.
I think hydrogen's amazing.
I mean, hydrogen. The only problem with hydrogen is containment, and you've got to have like massive containment because hydrogen. Remember the Hindenburg?
Yeah.
You know, hydrogen's some hazardous shit.
But
that shit blows up. You know, I mean,
it's highly flammable. But you know the byproduct of those
hydrogen? Water.
Yeah. But
so is that going to create global humidity?
It's like having what are all the forklifts propelled? Propane, right? So one tank of propane will be able to do a forklift.
Yeah.
But one tank of hydrogen would do how many miles in a vehicle?
There's 3 types of forklifts. There's gasoline, that's what I have. There's propane, and then there's electric. And I really wanted the electric forklift, but I was more concerned about the battery replacement cost.
What does that look like?
It's expensive. And I'm really freaking handy. If they pop the motor in that forklift, I'll rebuild it and go on.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I can rebuild that.
How many flashlights do you have where you have to mess with the batteries? Or even the rechargeable. Every tool I have to get a freaking new battery for a drill or for a dive light or for every... God,
you know, like in my woodworking,
batteries. If I could stay away from batteries, I would.
And you think about what batteries are doing to Africa. You have people working in open pits and muds with their kids.
Kids opening, tearing off the batteries to be able to get the wires.
Third world countries are suffering because
lithium is some bad shit.
It's bad shit. We're big. What was one of the biggest deposits found? Africa. There's lithium all over Mexico.
Well, hold on a second. So we've had
Well, there's supposed to be lithium in El Paso water.
Oh.
And it's hilarious. I'm in the water treatment industry. So I'll get people calling me up from Timbuktu because I deliver in El Paso.
Yeah.
Oh, well, where's your water source? And can you send me like a pallet of water and this and that? And I clue in on it right away, you know, and so, are you looking for lithium? Yeah, I want to get water with a lot of lithium in it.
With a lot of lithium?
Bipolar people.
Oh, okay, because that's a treatment for bipolar people.
That's right. So they want water with a lot of high level.
Holy smokes!
And so my response to that, and which usually gets them to hang up the phone, is, well, gosh, your doctor can prescribe you all the lithium you need. Click. And our water is processed in Las Cruces. That's our ground source. We don't have a high level of lithium.
Yeah.
There is a urban legend that El Paso water is high in lithium, but I don't think it's really high enough to use.
Is fluoride still a big scary water? Because I remember for a while there, everybody fluoride in water.
Oh well, fluoride is like I don't know.
It calcifies your pituitary gland and all that stuff.
Creates impotency and so on and so forth.
It had to go back to like the Nazis in Germany. They put fluoride in the water to subdue the
Well, that was part of the U.S. military. They would put fluoride in the water to give the GIs impotency, so they wouldn't be wanting to go off base to chase after girls and things like that. Yeah.
Who's the guy from the
But if you put too much fluoride in water, it'll turn the bottom of your teeth brown.
It'll turn your bottom of your teeth what?
brown.
Too much fluoride?
Too much fluoride. There's some places in Mexico where the fluoride levels are really high,
Really?
and all the people have really dark teeth.
Whoa.
I remember that from yeah.
There's a movie called The Big Short, and one of the guys that saw the real estate market, Barry something, he's like a big investor. After the market crashed and all that, he was done with it. So you know all he invests in now? Water.
And I mean,
Michael Burry. I'm sorry, Michael
and
Burry.
you're in the water industry. That's a great business, and da 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 da. And I look at it like, man, I'm just like every other business. I got a lot of money coming in, a lot of money coming out, and I've got insurance and taxes and payroll and all this other stuff. And nothing sticks. You know, I mean, I'm single and I meet women and stuff. Oh, well, you run a business and da da da. They cha-ching, and it's like, oh man, I'm broke. I even had a talk with a woman a few weeks ago, and we had a pretty expensive weekend, and we had a pretty expensive weekend, and I had like a little. We need to have a come with Jesus meeting. And it's like, look, honey, this is what I made last year. I'm not a wealthy man. I cannot maintain this source. And I'm never buying you a Louis Vuitton purse.
Right.
And, within a few days we were done,
So,
that was it.
How tough is the water business?
It sucks.
Is it like
the thing about me is taking care of customers is really easy. You just give them what they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need this, I'm out of this, blah, 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 boom, it's in the truck. That's easy. The hard part about it is hiring people, making enough money to pay that person, keeping enough staff, paying all the taxes, and insurance. Oh my God, the insurance.
Is your insurance insane?
Oh my God, I've got vehicles, I've got liability, I've got workman's comp, it's astronomical.
I
did an insurance audit this week for workman's comp, and it's like I'm classifying stuff, and it's like this is bullshit,
How tight are the margins in water? Is it pretty tight?
Tight. I drive a 2015 Jeep with roll-up windows. Now a lot of that is because I'm too cheap to go out and buy a new car because I like to travel and I like to have fun with my friends and I like to go on dive trips and spend money. And if I'm buying a brand new vehicle and having a payment, well, that's money that takes away from my play money.
Yeah.
But the business only has so much money to spend. I could easily take more, but where is that going to suffer?
Yeah.
Who's going to suffer from that? My employees get raises long before I ever do.
Yeah.
I went from when I got divorced from my kid's mom, I didn't take a raise for 11 years.
11 years.
Part of it was I didn't want to have to get hit with more child support, although we had shared custody.
Yeah.
But part of it was it sucks.
Yeah.
I've got some really good guys and I'm trying to groom them.
Yeah.
I'd love to retire, but I've got this tiger by the tail. I can't let go.
Can't let go right now.
So, I mean, some of the stuff I do I really love. Some of the stuff I do I frickin' hate.
Yeah.
I don't like administration. I love taking care of customers.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if you put me in the office for 8 hours a day for 3 days in a row,
I slit his throat.
I go frickin' nuts, man. It drives me crazy. I want to get out and take care of customers.
But the minute somebody calls, hey, can you... Yes, get me out of the office. I'll be right there.
I'm on my way.
Can I show up early?
I don't know how many times when customers will call and they'll need something, it's like, you know what? I can be there in 20 minutes. Where if it normally went through my office, it would be scheduled 2 or 3 days out.
I can use the 5-gallon jugs. You should hit me up and.
Yeah.
I can use that. I definitely can. You know what people do? They get the empty jugs and they'll get the petty cash and they go to the little water machine. But you know what? It's so
There's,
much
there's
easier.
only a couple in town that I would recommend. I'm not gonna
But
talk
you know
about
what?
it here.
If
but-
you
but-
hit me up, I'll put me on a schedule with it. That's the dire of my existence of them having to deal with that.
Yeah. I mean,
You're paying them more money to leave the office.
Yes.
and
Yes.
I won't do the little bottles anymore.
And the
And-
liability
and
if
the-
you get in that car accident.
Yeah.
While
The-
they're
the-
doing work stuff.
Yeah.
The environmentalist in myself won't allow me to do those little bottles anymore.
Oh yeah. They're
And
horrible.
I've been on deserted Caribbean islands on sailing trips and stuff, and lined up all along the beaches on the windward side is nothing but plastic, half-liter
How
bottles,
disappointing is that?
flip flops.
Like, so we
You know, I just want to get 2 or 3 plastic bags and fill them up.
I used to go to the slot canyon. You mentioned that a while ago.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
for the-
and I remember when I used to go out there, and there'd be nobody for miles. And you go out there and you hike it and come back, and it's kind of go short hike and all that stuff. And I went like a year and a half ago, and there's plastic wrappers. And
And I'm the guy that picks that up and shoves it in his bag.
That gotta
start
And
doing that.
even when we go scuba diving, I carry in my little pocket a mesh bag,
right,
and I start seeing stuff. I pick up beer cans and whatever
absolutely
underwater and wherever we go, and I bring it ashore.
But it's everywhere now.
It makes me sick.
Plastic bottles, how horrible are they for the environment?
Yeah,
God, plastic.
God, maybe I need to.
Have you seen-
I have a customer who has a daughter who runs a Shark Institute type educational thing. Maybe I need to get with him and see if we can get her on here.
You know what?
And I follow their Facebook page and I get their emails and stuff. I've never spoke with her personally.
What's a Shark Institute thing?
And she did a shark awareness, and I've even told her, hey, your daughter comes to town. She wants to get our dog club together and give a talk. Man, I'll put everybody
You can
together.
measure the health of the oceans by the health of the sharks.
And you go out in the middle of the Pacific. There's like an island of floating trash.
And here's the thing: you can't even take it anymore because there's so much of the biome is growing underneath it now. Fish, algae, and all that stuff. So if you take that, you're taking a component out.
Where's it all come from?
It
You
comes,
know, you know
it
where the
comes from-
majority comes from?
Where?
Indochina,
you know,
Developing nations.
developing nations.
a lot of it comes from hurricanes. When they had the tidal wave, remember they had the big tidal
Indonesia.
wave in Indonesia. A lot of that it washed a bunch of crap out into the ocean. When we were in Belize,
Plastic
we took a ride out to the windward side where the windsurfers are. They had some drinks, had lunch, blah blah blah, and stopped by a beach and it was just covered in plastic trash.
You know, in Seattle, like on the west coast of the United States and the upper west coast of the United States, after Fukushima, many months later, they were finding stuff from Japan.
Styrofoam.
Well, actually, like items, and people were actually calling people in Japan saying, "Hey, is this yours?" And they were sending stuff back to Japan that had floated all the way across the Pacific and now landed on the northwest coast of the United States.
Wow.
Like, yeah, and there was one particular one, and I can't think what it was. This guy was able to locate the family. So he found something that belonged to the family of somebody that from Fukushima that ended up like in Seattle, and he sent it back to them. Like it was like bizarre.
Did I tell you that I was in the?
When he came out of the closet, that's what he was gonna say.
Did I tell you that I was in the Fukushima nuclear power plant?
No, you didn't.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Like, okay, blow my mind with your experiences and where you've been.
Oh my God! I mean,
This guy.
he's been all over the world.
all over the
man.
world. So you were there,
I
like, when
forgot
were you
to-
there?
I forgot to tell you.
Oh,
By the way, did I tell you that I was in the Fukushima nuclear power
so
plant?
you
Twice.
you were at the bank that Butch and the Sundance Kid was
Yes,
shot down
yes.
at in Bolivia. Like, how did you end up there?
one night I was having dinner in Bolivia, and you wouldn't believe what I ran into.
I know. I believe it. I believe it.
That
Jesus.
one night in Bangkok.
And that almost sounds like a movie, That Night in Bangkok.
That night in Bangkok.
Yeah.
So we
That's the
we
point.
I think isn't that a Pornhub title?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I
Girls
was
go with
when I was in college, there was this beautiful like Thai chick, beautiful, and she always wore this t-shirt that was really tight, and she was really well endowed on her chest, and it just said
It's
Bangkok
Oh my god.
right down her shirt. I used to be like, oh,
Yes, please.
Yes.
yes, please.
Twice.
When were you in
Yeah, I was.
Fukushima?
It was in 1989.
89.
In the summer of '89.
And did you get a tour of the place or?
Yeah. I had an acquaintance that worked there, and then said, "Hey, would you like to go see where I work?" And I was interested in Japanese rising sun business and the whole thing. So
She happened to
let's
be
go
really
see.
cute.
No. They were all male engineers.
I never failed to be amazed at where you've been. Like from random conversations. By the way, you just blow my mind every time. And
By the way, when I decided
you know
not to
what,
be a
Mark?
priest, I was in Japan.
You
Yeah,
know
I mean,
what?
you hear that shit from.
let me tell you, and I always tell a story to our mutual friend Jeanette.
Yes.
She's feeling better now. I'm gonna try to get her
Yeah.
back come back on. She's been on since she was like sick with allergy stuff and all that. But I always tell a story of when we first met. Dario's looking to come back home, take a pay cut. He's looking for a job, and he says, he calls me. We talk for a minute on the phone. He says, "Can we meet at the Sunset Grill and talk business and tell me about your business?" And I always say, that guy I met that night, we drank Balvenie scotch,
Yeah.
and we talked business. The guy I met that night is not the guy that sits in front of me today.
Yeah.
Completely different guy. Remember, you're wearing your glasses, your hair was all combed, dressed like a
the,
different man.
the guy who's sitting over here
Yeah.
is completely different from the guy I met.
Yeah.
The guy I met,
Yeah.
the guy I met at Kelly's house was just a fucked up mess.
Yeah.
And
And you know what? I like who you are.
Yeah.
You know what? And you're still very driven. You're going after your degree. You're still doing things. I mean, you're still that same motivated guy I met that night, but at least I feel like you're not on pins and needles now. Now I feel like you've really come into who you are. You've got a great personality, and everywhere you go, you light up the room.
And tons of morals, tons of scruples.
Good man.
Yeah.
Smart.
Dude,
You
Smart,
guys.
smart.
This
man.
is not my
Smart
eulogy.
man.
I'm not dead. I'm not dead.
Okay,
I will-
okay.
I
I'm
will-
gonna go
I
help
will
Dario
say
now.
this. I will say that. I know, right? I will say this though. One of the most
My
intelligent
casket
men
is
I've
still
met.
here.
One of the most intelligent men I've ever met.
Yeah.
You
guys.
always, you never fail to amaze me.
But
with the
what's
things you come
hilarious is we were standing next to each other in the bathroom in the urinal, and I looked over and I was like, "Holy shit, you're Irish!" I had no idea.
Oh my God! I hope everybody
He
has
totally
a Dario Goy.
he's from Chile, but he's got the Irish
He
curse.
does not have a chili in his pants. I hope everybody has a Dario Goy.
With friends like these.
Oh my
And you
God!
guys are like the Renaissance man. You bring up one topic, but did you know that in 1873, in the summer of
And then he's got micro penis. Boom.
the King of Prussia had a micro penis. You go, how do you know that?
I saw the picture.
Well, I was subscribed to
Oh
five
my
podcasts. 5 hours and 39 minutes
Oh
long.
my
to
God.
listen to.
This is after a half a bottle of this is gone and
And both of you
a half
are
a
very-
bottle of this is almost
Yeah.
gone.
We're
And,
working on this tequila here. It's delicious tequila.
It's like a Bud commercial.
Tonight's
I love
episode
you,
is
man.
sponsored by Uber.
Uber, yeah, Uber.
Well, what brought up Uma is you were talking about the trash and stuff in the ocean, and you know I really enjoy sailing, and I've been following a lot of sailing channels on YouTube, and there's this German girl, and her thing is White Spots Pirates.
White spot.
And she She bought a derelict piece of shit boat in Panama, sight unseen. And it was basically, the hull of the boat was a good cruiser boat and very, very sound for ocean crossings. But it was full of mold.
Wow.
And she spent a couple of years in Panama trying to retrofit this boat well enough to get it in the water and be safe. And I probably followed her for 20 years, 15 years.
Wow.
But one of the things she does is she belongs to an organization. I don't know the name of the organization, but they take plastics and they put it together and they remelt it and they make jewelry and they sell the jewelry as a means to fund
That's cool.
the group that they're in to
Raise
help
awareness.
raise awareness for plastic. And it's White Spots Pirates. You get a chance, check her out.
What's it called again?
White Spot Pirates.
White Spot.
She just happens to be really cute. But I'm not 100% sure she's heterosexual, but who cares? I mean, she does a really good job, and she does awesome videos, and she's a really cool person.
There's two cute girls on a boat then?
Well, she's got
Is
a
there a
buddy.
cup involved?
She has a buddy who has another boat,
Wow.
and sometimes they buddy boat, or
She's very
sometimes she's on the other girl's boat, and yeah.
No, she's a
But she's a really cute girl. But on top of that, she's just like genuine, rock solid.
See,
Good
the internet.
person.
Without the internet, none of this would have come.
Yeah,
you know.
and Uma was when I think Uma, that was another channel I follow, and they set out with these grandiose plans on how they were gonna cure the world and da da da. They didn't really go about curing the world. They've traveled all over the world.
Hey, wasn't there like some autistic kid that invented a new way to collect the plastics? There's some
We got Mark the fact checker on that
Some
because
answer-
Dario's slacking too.
Yeah, I don't have my.
You said an autistic kid?
Yeah, like it was a novel way to collect the plastics from the ocean, and it was developed by the concept was developed by a 12-year-old.
And why isn't he on the screen? He always sits off screen.
And he's the best looking one
Yeah,
of us all.
yeah.
I have a face for radio. Mark.
You know, bullshit. Every woman I've ever introduced him to's eyes got all lit up, and
God.
they yeah. It's like Dario's a pretty one. I don't want to bring Dario around women I'm interested in.
I'll be your best wingman, Mark.
Oh my god! Remember the time in El Patio? Oh my god! My friend that I ran into's friend really liked you, and. Anyway, we were in the old patio one time, and this woman that I really liked. Anyway, shut up.
We all have
Her friend was liking you.
I can't remember, don't recall.
Yeah.
we all
And then last weekend with that other girl, she really liked you, and you were like, yeah, whatever.
It's
I'm-
all in due course.
I just did a search autistic kid develop ways to collect plastic, but you know, everything that comes up is the plastic toys cause autism, which is
No.
interesting.
Novel way to collect plastics in the ocean. I'll figure it out. I'll send you a link to it.
What's interesting is and I've had this conversation, is there's just so much autism in the world.
Well, there's
Is that new?
there's you know.
Is it
There's-
how new is the autism?
Autism is not new, but the amount of autism now compared to like when we were kids is skyrocketed.
But what about kids that are just on the spectrum? You know, that
There's more ways of
the
diagnosing
borderline
that.
Asperger's thing. They don't call it Asperger's anymore. But there's that on the spectrum, ultra smart, but they're a little bit not smart in other ways.
It's just like the taxes, you know. There's if you think of phone book, you know, 100 years ago, phone book was maybe 10 pages long. Now it's, you know,
Well,
now it doesn't even exist. It's on the internet. But you
25 years ago, the Las Cruces phone book was this thick.
yeah,
You know, and now it's this thick.
Hold on.
because there's no ads.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I don't pay for
Dude,
Yellow
do
Pages
kids
ads.
nowadays even know what the phone book is.
It's like the rotary
No.
phone.
Yeah.
I had to teach
Call
my
911.
my,
Ow!
Wow.
my parents moved to Central Texas and she wanted something and but there's nothing in the phone book because I'm mom. Go to Google Maps
Uh-huh.
and Google drapes or blinds or whatever the hell you're wanting to buy for your house.
Yeah, that's right.
And you'll come up with a list of people in your area.
You're lucky to find people in your area. You're most likely going to find whoever paid the highest search engine optimization to be able
Right.
to be on the
Well,
top of your thing. And
That's why I told her to look on maps
yeah, good.
in your area.
Good, yeah.
I'm still looking at this kid, but you'll have to let me know if that one gal from Gaza was coming.
You know, it was funny. I texted her the other day and I hadn't heard from her, and she texted me back today, and I was like, "Who are you? Is this the ghost?" You know,
Yeah.
she goes to me, yeah. And so I tried to give her a call when I'm literally driving down the interstate to come here, and she didn't pick up. And I texted her and I was like, "Hey, I'm on my way to do a podcast. Where are you?" And she's, "Oh, I'm in New York seeing the grandkid."
Wow.
And I was like,
Good for her.
yeah, so yeah, she'll, I can twist her arm to do it.
That'd be cool. We'll all come back on.
She's like super smart,
When we all come
and
on.
she has just like, she's the most, all the shit that girl's been through.
And
I mean,
still-
she's just like so positive and so, yeah, she's a good person. She's a really good person, good friend.
That's perfect.
Good-
You know,
good
it's funny
friend.
that people that go through a lot and they come out with that amazing personality, like,
Yeah.
because not a lot of people do that. People go through less.
Yeah,
if they
I
have
mean,
crap
she's just,
personality.
she's an amazing person, and yeah, she's someone I'm proud to call a friend.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, I think.
And she owes me tacos. She told me she had a present for me. I don't know what she. I think it had something to do with the donation we all put money together
Oh,
for.
yeah.
She's a social worker, and she texted me and she said, "Hey, I've got this deal with this kid, and she's a 4.0 student, has a really bad home situation, needs some clothes to go to. She's been selected to go to the New Mexico legislature section, but she needs professional clothes to go. And can you gather up some of your rich friends and donate some money?" And I shot out a text message to like the group, the High Desert Dive group, and to my close friends in the High Desert Dive group, and boom, within like hour and a half, there's like $250 in my balance.
That's cool. That's cool.
And so I just went and I gave her my work credit card. I figured whatever Venmo doesn't pay, my work credit card can pick that up. And she went out and she even took the girl. Dario said, "Well, they have this clothes thing at NMSU. You just tell them you're sorry. You pick up the clothes." The girl's never been clothes shopping before. Never had her own new bra.
Or Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, and she didn't know what size to wear. She got like anxiety at Ross
Wow.
buying clothes, and she just didn't know what to. I've never bought, and she'd never been to the store to buy clothes. I was
This
like,
day and age.
well, how does she get clothes? She usually comes in a bag. She tries it on, and what she doesn't use, she puts back in the bag and takes back to the donation center. And so she got her several outfits and a warm coat because it was winter time.
Yeah.
And when they were done, the girl was like, "Have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A?" "Yeah, we eat at Chick-fil-A all the time." I haven't eaten at Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
So she took her to Chick-fil-A, got her a couple meals. She has, I think she has, brothers and sisters. I think there's 4 of them. She got 2 meals and took them home to share with her brothers and sisters. And she was, "I'm sorry, I left my purse at home, and all I had was your card. I put it on your card." I was like, "No problem. No problem at all. The kid's never eaten at Chick-fil-A,
Amazing.
and the kid's mom, I think they live in Section 8 housing, and I think the kids have Medicare, but she won't take food stamps, she won't take welfare, and she wants to do it on her own. She doesn't want, the mom doesn't, you know, this girl gets up every morning. Her mom's got to run off to work because she works 2 jobs. And she gets all the kids ready for school, drops them off, goes to Las Cruces High, after school picks all the kids up, takes them home, helps them get their homework done, cooks them dinner, gets them ready. The mom comes home from the second job, falls asleep, and the next day.
Still had good grades.
Yeah, and what blew me away was within like a matter of minutes, my Venmo's full. You know, I mean, Dario, yeah, Coke, okay, Henry, everybody just like donated money. Right?
Only in America.
Boom. Yeah. And so I think she got me something for that, and she was, oh, I have a present for you.
I got you a gift certificate to a certain Chinese massage parlor.
Oh, that. No, we did that to Lorenzo. Remember that one thing to the dive shop? Oh my god. Freaking Lorenzo.
That is really cool.
Yeah, but yeah, she's just like an awesome person, and she like runs up her credit cards, helping out all these kids that are under her wing that her work won't pay for stuff. And she just goes broke doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like teachers. The teachers are like, they always buy stuff for their classes.
Right.
Out of their own pocket.
But I mean, they don't let, you know, this girl doesn't live in the nicest of neighborhoods, you know, and she's got kids, and yeah, I mean, the shit she went through with the whole Gaza thing, that was a bad deal.
That's crazy.
I mean, they had a bunch of kids. She was married to a guy that was from Gaza, and after I don't know how many years, she said, well, we need to go home to see my family. And he takes her home, and it's like, well, you're not leaving. You are in this country. You don't have an embassy here. You have no rights.
Just like the movie.
And
Sally Field, Not Without My Daughter.
And she had so after several years, she gathered up a bunch of jewelry to give to a cabbie. They took her to Israel. She went to the U.S. Embassy and brought all her kids home. Yeah. And several movie type production places tried to get with her to give her money and do a documentary series on her. But she didn't want her kids to have to go through the interviewing process. And so she wouldn't do it. And I keep telling her now, you need to work on your outline. You need to write a book. It's your time. Your youngest is about to graduate. It's your time. How's your outline coming? And, you know, like once a month or so I ask her, how's your outline? What are you doing on your outline? I want to read your outline. And she's working on it. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, she's just an amazing person. Just a good, rock solid, good soul. Good soul.
She's available. We should talk to her.
Yeah.
That's just,
I'm gonna send her. I'll send her this when you post it.
Yeah, I'll put this.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up. My glass is empty, and man, it was good.
Oh my god, my bottle is empty.
I know, a bottle. You guys killed to see ya. Good drinks tonight, good talks, and that's what we're about. And
We'll have to bring
responsibly,
a good bottle next time I come.
Good sponsorship tonight.
Yeah, my Doble Diamonte was good. The Sia was amazing, right?
Delicious.
Delicious. So, hey, thank you.
And the Macallan is always in the honor of Neil Peart.
Oh, man, Macallan's amazing. You can never go wrong.
Mark likes to play with small balls.
Yeah. Oh my God, Dario, the way you handle those balls, Dario, is pretty impressive.
I'll have to tell you about those sometime. I got those.
He
my fingers actually.
He had to clean those really well.
So there's a story in Japan, in China.
But written by a guy named Benoit.
That's what you'd see in China. That's how they prevent arthritis.
Oh.
Well, it helps with the. Oh God, when you don't move your digits and they get hard and they get.
Yeah.
What is that called again?
God damn it! I can't think of the word that women use to do the kringle.
Yeah,
that's the word. They're kegels. They're kegels.
Manual cake.
They help when you have arthritis.
I got those
and you need kegels.
2000. I've had those since 2000.
Because they have the little inside.
Yeah, the little big inside.
Yeah.
What is that called when you, like the medical term when you can't move your limbs because your muscles, you don't use them no more?
Paresthesia.
No.
Lipititis?
Kind of like that, but yeah, I had to use them to get movement back in my hand again, and so I would sit there with them, and then I tried to do it reverse, and
That was how Mark found out
Reverse
he
is
was
hard.
he was a horrible lover. His hand would fall asleep.
God.
Man, hey, thanks.
This went downhill quick, didn't
I
it?
think that's time.
Right on the goodbye.
Yeah.
No, thanks for joining though. It was a good night, man.
Yeah, it was a good
Boy,
night.
it was good.
Happy
Appreciate
spring.
you.
Happy
Right.
spring break.
Happy spring break.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day. That's right.
That's
right.
right.
Right around the
Get
corner.
get out the green chonies. It's time to go.
That's right.
I need green beer.
Next time we'll do green beer.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. You guys have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.